The story begins on a battlefield where the protagonist is face to face with what seems to be a final boss, Horn with a big sword. He says that God is dead and that humanity now worships money and references arcane engineering. However, at the end of that pursuit, they ended up turning themselves into slaves of monsters. Holding the sword and trembling, the protagonist asks how that is fair. Seeing the boss pulling out the sword, he throws himself forward, saying that none of this makes sense. The guy is screaming there. An explosion sweeps across the whole city. And this actually is the best modern apocalypse game that exists, called Arcane Soul. Now in the present, our guy is looking at his phone screen saying that this pay-to-win game is a disgrace. This is our boy Kim Jun-soo, 22 years old. Looking at the character agonizing on the screen, he says this is so unfair. How is a poor guy like him, who doesn't spend money on the game, supposed to win anything? The guy in front of him says that he actually did pretty well for someone playing with a free character. But of course his own character is so strong that even on autoplay he beat the protagonist. Then he finishes off the poor guys on the ground, saying that in the end he actually did pretty well for someone who doesn't spend money on the game. The poor guy is there walking down the street, full of rage, cursing the heavens, saying that even after spending 10,000 hours on this damn game, he can't beat anyone who spent just a little money. Clearly this wasn't a game. This is the disgrace of a casino with characters. But he says that in the end he's the idiot for still playing this crap. He should just be doing homework and moving on with life. But like a true addict, he's going to try pulling the daily free character to see what comes this time. But this time, things were different. A platinum chest appeared, surrounded by a mystical aura. He recognized it instantly. Bro, what he got from that chest was the exact same character the guy was using. The SSR rank Celestial Demon. Right then, he couldn't believe it. That was literally the rarest and most expensive character in the entire game. The chance of pulling that while playing for free is 0.00006. In other words, yeah, impossible. Like winning the lottery. Right away, he starts using all the free characters. He had to power up the new one, which is way more powerful. At least since he's been playing for a long time, he has tons of experience and is gonna max that character out. No more getting beaten up by those bastards who spend money on the game. Then all of his characters start being fused into the Celestial Demon. The experience begins to rise and he tosses the phone in the air, saying goodbye to Warrior Kim. Warrior Kim, right, which is the name of his character, since he's named Kim and the character is a warrior. Incredible. A genius at naming characters. But hold up, folks, look who's showing up from the side. Right after he got the Celestial Demon, the guy's expression changed. He wondered why this event felt kind of familiar, like something he'd read before. Next scene, he opens his eyes and he's in a hospital, people. Wait, so it wasn't a nice guy, or was it? He gets up all crooked, wondering where he is and why he's there. Of course his head starts hurting right away, and he remembers the truck that came right at him. The guy kinda dodged it, but the hit still landed on his body. As soon as he gets back to his senses, a nurse walks into the room and calls him Warrior Kim. She says she'll go get a doctor, but he's sitting there confused, trying to understand why she called him Warrior Kim. When he looks at his name, that's exactly what it says on the file. The poor guy's a bit lost, wondering if the hospital staff are a bunch of crazies or just fans of that game. Maybe it's just a joke because he spent those 10,000 hours playing as Warrior Kim, leveling everything up to boost the Celestial Demon. But wouldn't it be ironic if he actually became Warrior Kim? The second he tries to get up from the bed and touches the ground with his foot, man, pain shoots through him. First realistic accident where the protagonist actually has consequences. The others just get up and walk like it's solo leveling. The nurse comes running and shouting, telling Warrior Kim that obviously he can't be walking around just yet. Then the doctor shows up and says that for someone who got hit by a truck, he's actually in decent shape. But before he can leave, he'll have to run a magical vision test. Of course, Kim Jun-soo is confused. What is this stuff about calling him Warrior Kim in magic tests? A bit later at the front desk, someone does some calculations and says that, considering all the costs, it's going to be just $22 million. The poor guy freezes for a second and asks why he's paying US hospital prices. The doctor, smiling, completely ignores him and says that if he doesn't have insurance, he'll obviously have to pay out of pocket. The poor guy says he pays his taxes on time. He was entitled to the Korean national health system. But the lady's confused and says that in the land of the orange guy, there's no public health system. Actually, she asks if he has insurance from the Legion or the Magic Tower. Every second, he's understanding less and less. That's when he remembers he's heard terms like those before. Magic Legion, Mega Corporation, Magic Tower, and Sacred Order. The 4 factions that ruled that game. The world where the gods abandoned humanity and arcane science advanced drastically. Earth was polluted by monsters and humans had to modify themselves to survive. And now the poor guy finally gets it. He ended up in a world that's insanely hard to survive in. And worst of all, he landed there right after his accident and is already all messed up. Walking around the zone, he says this is so unfair. The second he was happy about getting the Celestial Demon, something like this happens and he becomes a tutorial character. Maybe it's divine punishment for having discarded all those Warrior Kims he had. When he enters the room, he's shocked. It's a cubicle smaller than the one he used to live in. He's already wondering why the hell this warrior Kim is so damn poor. He falls onto the bed saying that now he's screwed. His body's wrecked, he has no money, and on top of that, he's a tutorial character. At least it's Arcane Soul, which he knows so well. The problem is, he knows that soon there'll be nuclear war and dimensional explosions. The ancient gods will come seeking revenge and this place will turn into hell. He doesn't know how or why he ended up there, but he's 100% sure that if he stands still, he dies. That's when the madman has a crazy idea, bro. He grabs a pen and says, this is the moment to find out. Better now than later. He stabs his own hand and screams in pain, but right away it turns hilarious. The wound disappears and he gets excited, saying he knew it would work. Just like that, he gains a trait, Wound Recovery. That's the reason he was able to create so many warrior Kims. That's the only character with no base traits. On the other hand, you can do certain things to earn different attributes, and for him, that's perfect. Someone who has to rely on strategy instead of an overpowered character. And now he's got the biggest advantage because he became Warrior Kim himself. The first trait he got, Wound Recovery, already healed his leg and all the damage from the accident. As long as he works hard, he can get any trait he wants. And he doesn't have time to stand around because Arcane Soul is the kind of place where you die if you're poor or powerless. You also die if you're unlucky, and you die if you run away too much. But he's not gonna let any of that happen to him. Back at the start of the game, he was ranked 100 in Kim 1,689. But he played and played and played. After 10,000 hours, being the only person who made it that far without spending a cent, he was in the top 10, rank 9, one of the best players. All of that was always with Warrior Kim, the very body he's in now. Already in a player zone, a bearded guy asks Warrior Kim if it's really his first time there. Our boy says yes and says he wants to join the mana purification business. Truth is, first he needs to make money, because in this gacha game, bro, money is everything. And the only thing he's got right now is his body, so that's how he's gonna earn. The old guy throws his foot up on the table and says that, yeah, it might be called mana purification, but he should know exactly what cleaning a dungeon means. That was director Choi Shion-soo. A little awkward, the protagonist says he does, and the guy immediately comments that there's absolutely nothing on his resume. But our boy knows that the job he's asking for is miserable, so he'll definitely get hired. Cleaning contaminated mana isn't something a lot of people are willing to do. The reason is, as more and more monsters started taking over the Seoul region, dungeon cleanups became a necessary task. Basically, it means collecting battle debris that's emitting contaminated mana. The problem is, constant exposure in that place can lead to instant death. There's a guy there with his hand on his head, releasing a dark aura, asking for help, and suddenly he transforms. The result of exposure is turning into something extremely dangerous, which is then immediately executed. Shunsu goes ahead and says he's hired, and once they've got enough people, he'll be placed in a team. But he recommends the boy think it over. He's seen a lot of people start out in this line of work and soon after become something unrecognizable. Kim Junsu, however, replies that he shouldn't worry. If there's one thing he has, it's patience, bro. The guy played 10,000 hours for free, man, so if he's got anything, it's patience and experience. But in the next panel, we see the team captain named Deer. That's literally his name, folks. Well, yeah, you can see the little horns there. Makes sense. He asks if he's the new trash that's gonna join the team. A bit confused, our boy answers like, yeah, he thinks it's him, but he didn't come here to get roasted like that. That's when Deer grabs him by the collar and gets up close, asking if he thinks this is some kind of playground. Where's the fire in the kid's eyes? He's sure the boy will soon be begging to be killed after going through an instant mutation. Kim doesn't care about any of that and just replies, fine, he'll stay aware of something like that, while remembering that in the game it was like that too. This guy was always trying to scare people. The real question is, why is a guy like Deer, someone ranked R, even here? Apparently he used to look normal before awakening and growing those little legs too. That's when another guy in a blue shirt comes running and tells Deer to stop messing with the rookie. After all, they were already sure on people working this niche. This guy is Red Hog with 5 years of experience in the field. Deer, though, says he doesn't have many expectations for the kid, as long as he doesn't get in the way, and that's good enough. Then he walks off, saying it's time for them to get going. They've got 5 spots to clean. Warrior Kim isn't happy about getting humiliated like that. For some reason, this bastard was even crueler in real life than in the game. But Red Hog tells him to relax, saying that while the guy seems annoying, he's actually a decent person. So our boy just says, okay then. Next scene, they're standing in front of a metropolitan gate. The smell there was absolutely awful, but the boss just tells them to get ready. They're going in. As soon as he swipes the card and the door opens, he's already shouting for everyone to get into position. Among the piles and piles and piles of rubble, there are what seem to be slimes. Actually, they weren't just slimes, they were contaminated slimes. And the annoying part about this creature wasn't its strength or danger, but the simple fact that even if you cut it in half, it doesn't die. It only dies if you find the mana core that's hidden somewhere inside its body. Everyone's already all tangled up when Kim charges straight at one of them. The teammate who's being swallowed up by a monster looks back, and Kim's coming and swinging a pickaxe, apologizing but saying he won't be responsible for what happens next. He just barely manages to hit the core and avoid the guy's leg. The poor dude nearly fainted, but the slime died. Meanwhile, the guy who merely got his junk sliced in half is trembling on the ground. Our warrior Kim, on the other hand, is already running and finishing off everything, striking core after core non-stop. The boss and the rest of the team are confused. It looked like the bastard was killing each one in a single hit, something that shouldn't be possible since the cores are randomized. But that actually is something pretty much impossible. So now we go back to 2 days earlier. The lunatic was on the ground in a playground, digging around for something. Families were even pulling their kids away saying not to look at this craziness. But then suddenly, Kim found what he was looking for, a 501 coin. And because of that, he earned the treasure hunter trait. For him, that was the most important thing for a warrior Kim. While he's celebrating having found the coin, an old lady tells the kids not to listen to that crazy guy. But the truth is, our protagonist knows that before you start killing monsters, there are a few things worth collecting. Next scene, he's in front of a trash can, vomiting. And with that, he acquires the contamination resistance trait. That one was one of the worst, since apparently, he had to deal with a bunch of stinky stuff and garbage. Just like in the game, you get certain traits as long as you fulfill certain conditions. Obviously, right? Because he is Warrior Kim. In total, you could have 6 traits activated at the same time and could switch between them whenever you wanted. With Treasure Hunter, he could see what his opponent's weaknesses were. That's because that trait let him easily spot mana cores. But then the slime explodes in the middle of the group. Deer's there shielding himself, telling them to be careful and not to end up swallowing any of that contaminated mana. Meanwhile, Kim, man, is looking at the inside of the creature, soaked in slime, saying that hard work always pays off. Warrior Kim really was the perfect class for someone who likes to put in the effort. And of course he can't be contaminated, right? Because he's got the resistance trait activated. Even though he's acting all badass, playing the tough guy, on the bus, he's totally wiped out after a day of work, bro. Red Hog, though, comes over and thanks him, saying that it's because of our boy that everyone's getting off early today. He sits beside him and says he's never seen anyone work as well as he does. Maybe he'll awaken like Deer. But our boy lies, says nah, nothing like that. He just has a bit of military experience, that's all. The guy still praises him, saying that if that's true, then he really is amazing. But then, out of nowhere, horns appear on his forehead, and Kim already realizes that the guy's not even noticing that he's undergoing changes automatically. Our boy says, yeah, you should probably start taking it easy and take a break from work. But Red Hog says he'd rather turn into a mutant than face the reality of a life full of debt. This game world is perfect, bro. The Korean work routine of 25-hour workdays with the US healthcare system. All the best parts of capitalism. And Kim, poor guy, he knows someone like Red Hog doesn't have many options. 4 days pass, and once again, the job is done. Since he's the only one with poison resistance, he's also the only one who finishes the job without being totally wrecked like the others. Someone nearby is puking, bro. And yeah, it looks like Red Hog is starting to go through the transformation. Kim just thinks to himself that he told this guy to stop overworking like that. That's when Deer shows up behind him, saying that apparently the kid's still full of energy. Maybe it's because he's so young. You never imagined someone like him would be that good at the job. Back off, Deer, we haven't even seen a waifu yet. Bro, go away. Our humble boy replies that it's thanks to the hard work of the team. But obviously, right, it's all thanks to those damn traits. Deer, though, sits down and says that he, on the other hand, is dead tired. That's when suddenly they hear a sound nearby. When they turn, they see that Red Hog is beginning to transform. The others call out to him, asking if he's feeling okay. In the same second, Deer takes off running, telling everyone to be careful. And Kim already knows what's about to happen. They're hugging their friend, telling him to keep his mind clear, that they'll get out of there soon. But man, his expression changes. Right then, an explosion sweeps across the cleanup site. When Kim opens his eyes again, a giant red foot is stomping the ground, and his friend had turned into a mutant. The sad thing about the mutation is that in 1 second, the person loses all sanity. And if they don't take this guy down right there, they won't be able to get out alive either. The problem is the 6 traits he has equipped right now are all focused on monster cleanup. None of them will help him win this fight. No matter how he looks at this situation, he knows that everyone there is screwed. Bro, I really thought this was gonna be one of those scenes where the protagonist dodges everything, comes out like a badass. But nope, the story's keeping it real. With no combat traits, he just got punched in the face, blown into the ground, and left totally wrecked. At the very least, he got the resistance trait. Obviously, he wasn't going to give up that easily. He opens the status window and starts switching out his traits. Of course, strength would be useful right now. Mana Heart would help him focus his energy. Resistance would increase his chances of surviving each attack. Mana Absorption and Regeneration would work well together to help him recover. And the last piece of the puzzle, Corruption Resistance, since the enemy was a mutated creature. With that, he had all the basics set up and was time to go on the offensive. But who comes charging in, bro? It's Red Rogue, rushing in for another hit. Kim throws the shovel back and activates the strength trait. With that, he had 10 times the strength of a regular human. One smack with the shovel sent the creature flying like a golf ball. He's feeling confident, saying the rhythm's good and maybe he can do this. But then the sonic cousin stops midair, starts spinning, and comes right back at him. The bastard even bounces off a rock and comes from above. He's there wondering how he's supposed to dodge something like that. The whole ground explodes and Red Rogue rolls to the side. Our boy Kim Jun-soo managed to resist by activating the resistance trait that boosted his defense tenfold. But even getting ready to punch, he says that even with that cursed trait, it still hurt like hell. The problem is, he doesn't have time to think. If he stops here, he dies. He tries to throw a flurry of punches JoJo style, but the problem, bro, are the spikes on the monster's back. And worse, the mutant seems to have control and fires one like an arrow. Nope, not one. What the hell? The dude fired a whole barrage, and our boy got shredded. Man, I know he's got resistance, but now he's really done for, flat on the ground. But when it comes to perseverance, he's got plenty of that. All pierced up, he charges again to land another punch. I don't even know what happened, but the guy's hand is not looking too good. Red Rogue prepares another attack and blows up his arm. Bro, come on, this is the first monster he's fighting. It already feels like the final boss. The poor guy's just lying there thinking that the life of a warrior Kim is never easy. The monster comes in for a hammer strike to finish him and the ground explodes. We then see a flashback. Our boy was back there playing on mobile with his warrior Kim, telling everyone to come at him because he'd win. Back then, playing was so easy. All he had to do was tap a few times and the hunt began. He never thought about what the characters were actually going through. But now he realized it's painful as hell to even earn a mediocre trait. From inside Red Rogue's hand comes an attack that smacks him right in the face and sends him flying. The kid is all impaled, but suddenly, he's jacked. He finally acquired the mutant muscle trait. What the hell, bro? It's like Trembolone is flowing through the kid's blood. And he says now he understands. There's no winning without paying the price. The reason you went into those reckless attacks was to obtain this trait, which you could only get when mana, heart, and strength were activated at the same time. From the start, it was all for this moment. Red Rogue goes for another attack, but now he blocks it with his arm. He hits back full force, saying that move won't work on him anymore. The monster, though, fills his fist with spikes and lands a direct hit to the chest. That bastard, now he's full of holes again. What now? Gonna awaken another trait. Looks like that's exactly what's happening. His whole body, riddled with holes, starts regenerating. He had obtained the mutant body trait, and he thanks Red Rogue, saying that he's been evolving a lot thanks to his friend. The creature charges once more and the two lock hands, pushing against each other. Meanwhile, on the ground, Deer, who had been knocked out, starts to wake up and sees the chaos unfolding right in front of him. He doesn't understand what just happened with Warrior Kim or what kind of superhuman strength that was. How is it possible for a human to be fighting head-to-head with a mutant creature? The two monsters hit each other with an attack and both go down. Even with all those traits, things weren't easy for our Warrior Kim. His size was similar to the monsters, but even then, he was at a disadvantage. The creature roars and he knows it's dangerous, but he has no choice. The monster charges in again, Sonic style, while he activates contamination resistance. He's going to have to do the only thing left. Use a delete with that trait. Bro, Deer is freaked out. I don't know what he deleted, but Kim's transforming all weird. He turned red, more buff and giant. Up the Trembolone dose. Guy went full demon mode, drawing pentagrams on his head and firing a laser at Red Rogue. Half the area got wiped out and Deer's on the ground, still trying to process how the kid just did that. The protagonist glances back and Deer can't understand why the mutants are fighting each other. That should only be possible if Kim had transformed and still managed to keep his consciousness. In that moment, bro, he was the mutant warrior Kim. Man, the dude's like 30 meters tall, while Deer's crawling on all fours like, But the big guy is coming up from behind. That massive hand is coming down to crush him. But when he looks back again, Kim had already transformed back. The energy ran out and he dropped to the ground like a bag of trash, celebrating that at least he survived. All of this was only possible thanks to the corruption resistance trait that allows you to unlock the mutant body and mutant muscles. And then if you have both activated and delete the resistance, you gain the mutant trait. Everyone believes that once that happens, there's no turning back to normal. But of course, after 10,000 hours of gameplay, he figured out what had to be done. First, when you have the mutant muscles, you kind of get used to that feeling. And in the moment you delete the other trait, you try to hold on to a bit of your consciousness. The moment the fight ends, you remove the mutant trait and re-equip poison resistance, and that way, you de-transform. Sneaky bastard. Turns out you're a real strategist, huh? Only problem is, he's lying there in the trash, completely done for. His muscles hurt like hell, and he can't even move. The character with no stats is completely jacked now, and monster. He pulls himself up, legs shaking like crazy, and remembers that when Red Rogue died, he got a level 1 human mana core. And he makes that crazy face, saying it was all worth it. He just forgot one small detail, that guy was supposedly his friend. But clearly he doesn't care, bro. What matters is the mana core. He's jumping with joy, saying this cleanup job really paid off. Then Deer shows up with two guys behind him, asking if our boy is okay, wanting to know if he really became a mutant. What the hell just happened? Obviously, Kim doesn't want weird rumors starting about him. So he says he thought the only way to win was to let the virus affect him, hoping he'd return to normal. In other words, it was all luck. Deer seems unconvinced, saying it was all too easy. But Kim just brushes it off and tosses the items in his hand, telling them it's time for everyone to head back and get some fresh air because that place was way too contaminated. Our boy's confident that after handing over some mana cores and saving these guys' lives, they'll probably keep his little secret. But Deer, yeah, he's standing there still kind of suspicious, clutching his balls nervously, back with Chief Xion-su, who's now all smiles and happy, saying he heard the kid went through a really tough situation. Must have been terrible. Kim says, nah, it was super easy and everything went just fine, while trying to figure out why the hell this guy is suddenly trying to suck up to him. Then the boss says he should have just come out and said he was a superhuman. For sure, he would have been given a way better job than dungeon cleanup. Now it makes sense. The guy thinks our boy has some kind of special ability. In the world of Arcane Soul, what's a superhuman, right? Guess what? It's a human with abilities. Thanks for that, author. Really, your explanations are always so helpful. Without them, no one would understand anything. Obviously, in a world like this, where strength is everything, that's super rare. The protagonist is actually just a normal human, but since he killed a mutant, of course people would think otherwise. That's when the boss pulls his hand out of his pocket, saying he has to pay for the cleanup. Seeing the big old money pouch, our boy is more than happy to let the guy believe whatever he wants. The guy slams 50 million on the table and says that usually they keep 20% and the rest would be split among the team. But this time, it'll be different. He says they'll only keep 5% and even give Kim a bonus. Our boy is speechless, man. In total, he's walking away with 12 million. The face of a lunatic, saying how nice it is to work with honest people like that. As he's walking out of the office, he's all cheerful, thinking about how he's going to spend that money. A guy nearby says that he looks really pumped. Must have gotten a nice payday. A little embarrassed, Kim says yeah, while remembering that this was one of the guys who worked the job with him. Then the bald guy says he wants to talk to him and ask for a favor. His wife is sick, and he wanted to borrow a bit of money. Oh, poor Kim. He just got paid not even 10 seconds ago, and people are already asking to borrow from him. What a damn curse. The guy's apologizing, saying the only chance to save her came when they worked together. He realized Kim was a good kid, but our protagonist isn't sure if helping people like this is a smart move. After all, he barely understands how this world works. What if this guy stabs him in the back later? Not to mention, he barely has enough to support himself. But in the end, he's just a soft-hearted kid. He asks the guy not to bow since he's older and hands over some mana stones, saying it's not much, but he hopes it helps. Little Kim would never ignore someone in need. Sometime later back home, look at this bastard's face, saying that idiot really is a sucker for giving him money just because he made a sad face. Oh wait, this ain't home. It's an alley. That damn Deer is there, saying the kid must be new to the game to go around handing out money like that. The guy says if he had randomly made up a story about having a kid too, Kim would have given him even more money. Not to mention, he's pissed that the bastard probably got paid more than them. Deer says that yeah, something's definitely off. That guy isn't even a superhuman, so maybe it's time they taught him a lesson. The bald guy asks what he means and Deer says it's obvious. That little idiot must have some weird ability, and they all know his secret. He then crushes the mana stones and says it's time to show just how scary this world can really be. Oh boy, background characters never stay satisfied, huh? Y'all had a good thing going, but now you're asking to get stomped. Our boy, on the other hand, first paycheck in hand, is already in a luxury room getting a massage. Oh my dear Kim Jun-soo, tell him there's a female mess used there, right? 'Cause it's getting a little suspicious. You're always hanging with Deer in the dungeons, and now you're in situations like this. But okay, whatever floats your boat, I guess. He's got that 2,000-hour game strategy, so he probably knows what he's doing. I'll let it slide because even after all those massages from that extremely qualified professional, his body's still aching all over from that forced transformation. The traits he can use really are multiple, but they're far from omnipotent. His body changes based on whichever ones are equipped, and obviously, it gets harder and harder for the body to handle their effects. But right, what's he gonna do? He can't survive or do much of anything without using all of them. So that's just how it is. Suddenly, something catches his attention while he's looking out the window, and instead of checking out girls in bikinis, he's staring at some tattooed uncle out there. The world of Arcane Soul is ruled more by gangs than by law, which is kinda natural, since this is a place where the police can't do anything. Superhuman players are the ones who decide everything. He's muttering to himself that he barely made it out alive, but doesn't know if he'll make it next time. At least now that he's Warrior Kim, he can use a bit of money to buy some items and actually make a difference. At a weapon shop, finally, the artist spent like 0.2 grams of pencil to draw a woman in this story, and she wants to know what he's here to sell. He says he brought some monster remains, but she already says she should warn him they're not buying any level 0 mana cores. He tells her not to underestimate him. He reaches into his backpack and says he's here to sell this, bro. A giant human mana core that looked like a Rasengan from Naruto. That was a level 2 core. No need for her to make that shocked face. What he'd done in the hotel room was fuse all the cores he got from that guy he killed and all those slimes too. With that, he finally made a level 2 core they'd actually buy. And now he's blushing, saying the price depends on the level. If he gets a good amount, he'll have enough money to buy a weapon. She hands over a value of 4.77 million. And right away, he says he wants to take a look at the store's armor and weapons. She tells him to follow her behind the counter, and back there, man, it looks more like a military armory than a dungeon shop. There's like 30 M4s, pistols, bazookas, backpacks. This is more PUBG than solo leveling at this point. But the kid looks excited, saying for sure he'll pick out her best stuff. And yeah, he walks out with half of Afghanistan in his backpack, all hyped that now he can finally play Arcane Soul in peace. That's when suddenly, someone calls out to him. Now that one female character appeared, here comes the second. Artist getting bold now, and she wants to know if, by any chance, he's a mercenary because she needs help. He says no, he's not. So she says that's fine. She'll go look for someone else. Then she pulls out a wad of cash, saying she's on a business trip and is scared of a certain gang. All she wants is someone to protect her and her stuff. Kim immediately starts thinking that $500,000 just to do some bodyguard work isn't bad at all, especially since he just geared up. Right away, his expression changes and he says he would never ignore a girl in danger like her. If she needs a bodyguard, she can count on him. They start walking through some alleys and yeah, it's clearly starting to feel suspicious. He's wondering the same thing. Why would a girl who's supposedly on a business trip choose such a sketchy place like this? Suddenly, she picks up the pace, climbs the stairs, and says to just come around this corner. When he looks, she's at the end of the hallway saying it's just right there. And off he goes. Really? This idiot's gonna fall for this? But as the dear warrior Kim that he is, he couldn't see anything in that moment and unlocks night vision. But out of nowhere, bro, the girl pulls out a pistol and says he's actually more cautious than she expected. And before he can even ask what's going on, she's already pointing the gun and Deer is right behind him. Kim goes to say something, but the guy just says it's good to see him again. That's when it's our boy. He immediately asks what he did to deserve something like this. Just as Deer starts saying he seemed like an easy mark, Kim is already running. He throws the weapon backpack down and bolts for the end of the alley. Deer tells the girl to shoot, and the damned woman takes aim and lands a shot right in the spine. Our boy drops down the stairs like a piece of trash. The leader comes in complaining she was supposed to hit him in the leg. Now he's dead. She just says that's better than him getting away. The problem is, he really was dead now. The weird guy who became a mutant somehow was still human. The girl says maybe it's a good thing. There might be someone willing to buy that body of his. The leader doesn't care. He tells them to just collect the body already. But in the blink of an eye, the body was gone. They're all confused, not understanding what the hell just happened. Then the lights in the place explode and someone gets whacked in the back of the head. No one can see anything because the darkness is absolute. In addition to extra strength and all the resistance traits, there was something else. Back at the weapon shop, he made sure to buy a bulletproof vest because you never know what might happen. And the moment he got shot, he gained another trait, playing dead. And since no one can see anything, bro, it's easy for our boy to sneak up on Deer and clock him right in the jaw. The fool hits the ground immediately, but he gets back up and manages to land a kick. But our warrior says the bastard should have been grateful his life was saved before. Trying to kill the one who saved you? Definitely not the smartest thing he's ever done. But just as he goes in to stomp on his head, bang, another shot rings out. The girl shouts for him to freeze and asks if Deer is okay. Even while invisible, our boy still took a hit to the arm. And that's when he remembers, bro, in Arcane Soul, the scariest thing wasn't mutants or monsters. It was the people of that world. He was way too naive, trusted way too easily. Oh snap, he pulls out the Glock 2, puts a bullet right in her hand to knock the weapon out. I thought it was gonna be like cold, calculated, Kira style, bam, headshot. But the other guy's still out here running his mouth, right? You can already tell he's gonna be the nice guy. What do y'all think? Leave a comment below. In that moment, would you rather he just killed both of them or not? The messed up part is that our idiot got distracted, and now Deer's coming in with a massive kick that lands right on the side of his mouth. Looks like he barely managed to dodge at the last second, but he dropped his gun in the process. And the worst part, the bastard's legs had transformed. Now he was a real Deer, bro, a level 1 superhuman. Our protagonist can't believe the bastard just evolved right in the middle of the fight. Seeing the little pop-up screen from Warrior Kim, he explains that in this game, any character can go through a superhuman awakening. It's basically the core growth mechanic of the game. And once someone awakens, they can easily overpower a human, even if they're armed with a rifle. And now, with his normal body, Kim's gonna have to deal with this guy who already transformed. In a single second, the guy turned into a blur, bro. Deer's ability was stereotropic jump, No clue what that means, but basically, a skill that lets him jump in multiple directions at insane speed. The bastard turned on creative mode and disabled gravity, bro. He's already scaling the wall to land a dropkick from above. Kim hits the Call of Duty shift key and slides out just in time. Deer can't believe that someone who hasn't awakened is dodging his attacks, but he goes in for another one, and this time, our boy is forced to defend himself. But the idiot's expression suddenly changes. Kim had pulled out a weapon and managed to block the full hit. He says that in the end, the guy really is just an animal. As he figured, buying that expandable baton was the best choice. A few hours earlier, back at the shop, he was wondering if it was even worth buying a weapon. Because, well, Warrior Kim. Guess what class he is? Yep, Warrior class. The stronger he got, the more useless guns would become. He needed something that matched a warrior-type character. Since there weren't any real swords available, the best option was to get that baton. And obviously, since his character is a warrior type, he gets bonuses using that kind of weapon. If Deer thought he was walking away from this untouched, yeah, no. Here comes our boy with the beatdown. Smack! Lands the first one right in the stomach. And with that, he gains the strong hit trait. Finally, the first one that's actually specialized for his class. That buff could be added to any attack from above, below, or from the sides. And the good thing was exactly that, it could be used in tons of situations. But Deer is still dodging everything and goes in for another kick. Unfortunately, Kim had left a huge opening and maybe wouldn't be able to dodge this time. With no good options, he decides to tough it out, lets his arm take the hit and strikes back with the other, landing a blow right behind the knees. The guy was faster and would always land a hit, so Kim decides to just keep hitting every time he gets hit. And after landing a string of attacks, he gains his second trait, combo. At the early stages of the game, nothing's better for Warrior Kim than that. A strong hit plus a combo, perfect setup to hit fast and hit hard. Now the idiot's getting whacked from all sides, smack, right in the chest. He drops like a trash bag on wet asphalt while our boy celebrates, saying he finally took down that bastard. But then his hand suddenly starts to glow. He feels something strange, his whole body starts hurting and he crouches there, groaning in pain, clutching his arms, not understanding what's going on. The golden explosion and an aura bursts from his hand. Warrior Kim had awakened. He had become a superhuman. He clenches his fists and shouts to the skies in celebration, bro, the face of a psycho. He had finally stopped being just a normal person. The madman's even busting some b-boy moves now, saying that now his life's finally changing. That's when, suddenly, a dude with shorts on his back says it looks like he pulled it off. When our boy looks behind, bro, there's a guy walking in with a bazooka and 3 kilos of ammo. That's Iron Fist Kim, man. Right after Warrior Kim, he's the second most basic 2-star character. A class that's kind of like a reinforced soldier who uses firearms as his main weapons. On top of that, he can shoot with his prosthetic arms. And the biggest problem now for our boy? That bastard is the leader of the Iron Fist gang. Since Kim's been fighting in their territory, they must have taken that as a provocation. Iron Fist steps forward, presses the bazooka to Kim's chest, and asks if he even bothered to check where he was before causing all that mess. Kim tries to explain, right, he had to defend himself, it was better than dying, so he didn't really have much of a choice. The guy pulls out a pistol and says it looks like Kim was more scared of his enemies than of the Iron Fist gang. Poor Kim, man, he just finished one fight, and he already knows that if he gets into another one now, he won't survive. The guy points to his heart and says that in the end, Kim made the worst choice possible. And now he's going to find out what happens to people who pick a fight in their territory. After a second of silence, our boy says they forgot one thing. He grabs the guy's gun, bro, and says he's not going to die that easily. He pulls the trigger himself, and the bullet goes right through his chest. The guy's confused, trying to figure out if this lunatic really just shot himself while holding his gun. Our boy takes a step back, bleeding, and obviously this had to be some kind of condition to unlock another trait. This time it seemed to be a more advanced regeneration. Iron Fist, who sometimes I call Steel Fist, yes, sorry, background's messy, says it looks like the kid's got an interesting ability. Ah, now it makes sense. You can only unlock that advanced regeneration if you already have the basic one and have become a superhuman. But what our boy is trying right now is just sort of bluff. He knows these guys aren't going to let him go easily, so he's trying to intimidate them a bit. He points at the crew behind them and says that if they're not lucky, they're not making it out of there alive. They better be careful, because they're messing with Warrior Kim. The big guy laughs and says it looks like this Warrior Kim guy is pretty bold, and because of the kid's guts, he'll let him walk away alive this time. But he better understand exactly what that means. Our boy just nods and thanks him. The man extends his hand and says he's looking forward to working with him. Looks like our boy got the message. He's being spared, but he'll be working for the guy from now on. And for a kid scraping the bottom of the barrel in this city, some connections might not be so bad. He clasps his hands together and says, until next time. Steam cuts to the Tower of Superhumans. The game was already amazing, but in person, it was something else entirely. Totally different from where he had been staying before. Someone behind him thanks him for coming to visit the Superhuman Tower. I thought it was going to be a bombshell girl, but no, it's just a receptionist, kind of proper looking. But judging by how our boy's already blushing like crazy, he's clearly never seen even 16 micrograms of woman in front of him. The girl says she knows he must be there to get his superhuman certifications. All he needs to do is head into the room to get his mana and traits measured. Kim already noticed it. He must look so lost and clueless that she didn't even have to ask if it was his first time there. But just as he's entering the room, a loud noise breaks out and everyone starts clasping their hands together, kneeling, saying to look up. The saint is arriving. Apparently, the saint is either a ship in the sky, or maybe the saint herself is about to appear. A laser strikes the middle of the room and our boy is freaked out. Some robots arrive, and it looks like our boy recognizes them. He says it's the order of the old father. And seeing the girl in the black helmet, he wonders why a boss from the game is here. But everyone's kneeling, praying, worshipping her arrival. He figures that maybe he's inside some kind of tutorial timeline. At this point in the story, the saint really was a person, not a boss. But as the plot progresses, it's revealed that the order she works for is actually a cult disguised as a religion. And they start slaughtering the city's citizens without hesitation. The poor fools are there praying, saying the saint must have come to measure her power again. The girl pulls out a massive hammer, starts glowing gold, and is smiling like an absolute lunatic. Meanwhile, Kim can only think, this crazy lady is way too damn loud. Some yellow stuff pops up from the system, reacting, and she's standing there waiting for the result, still with that crazy face. The people look tense, then the result shows up. A saint, who really is a priest class, had level 8 mana and a 6-layer circuit. Everyone starts celebrating while she walks around with that same expression. But the one guy not celebrating, sweating buckets instead, is our boy. He mutters that they really shouldn't be cheering for something like this. A level 8 superhuman has the destructive power of an entire bombing fleet. Basically, they're a mobile national threat. And the worst part is, he knows this very same threat is going to wipe out Seoul in the near future. But seeing all that cult-like worship, he knows there's nothing he can say that'll change their minds about her. For now, he's going to do what he can, which means focusing on himself and leveling up. To avoid attracting too much attention, he decides to equip a few traits and stick with just 3. But then suddenly, the saint glances to the side. A guy standing next to her asks what's up, and she says there's something about that individual. In the blink of an eye, she's already behind him, saying he has a very interesting ability. He jumps in surprise, a little confused, saying she startled him, while trying to figure out why the hell this boss just came over to talk to him. Could she have noticed the traits he had equipped? Everyone in the crowd of worshippers is thinking the same thing. Why is the saint talking to that useless idiot? Suddenly, she grabs our boy's hand and says she wants to know his name. All awkward, he says the legendary name, Warrior Kim, while remembering there's only one reason a priestess asks someone's name in Arcane Soul. Out of nowhere, she starts praying to the old father, asking him to baptize and bless the boy, declaring that the one who sits on the black throne of gold would always grant him as much power as needed. The girl's really trying to baptize him. There are even glowing golden tattoos starting to rise on his body. She tells him to submit to the peace of the world and abandon the hatred of this place. The crowd's totally jealous, saying this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, especially coming from the great daughter and most powerful saint. But here's the problem for Kim. If he receives the baptized trait, he'll have no choice but to become a paladin. And even though those lunatics are going to attack the entire city, in the end, they're going to lose to Korea's strongest warriors. He gathers his courage, pulls his hand out of hers, and yanks away, thinking that this chick is just like a crypto scammer. Except in this case, it's guaranteed loss. Obviously, the crowd gasps. He falls to his knees and says he refuses to be baptized. The saint's expression immediately changes. She says she must have misheard something. Our boy, awkward but firm, says nope, she heard him just fine. She responds, well then, all right, we cannot deny the citizens their freedom, but he can be sure the old father will always be watching him. Yikes, she puts her hand on him, muttering some devil's hour curse, saying he better not forget that the holy light is already inside him. Oh snap, she turns around and leaves our boy literally on fire, roasting in front of everyone. He's being burned alive while the people around are saying it's his fault for refusing the baptism. Yeah, being an atheist in this world is definitely not worth it, someone says. What she used was called Divine Fever, a punishment ability for refusing baptism that causes extreme pain. Obviously, Kim, our guy with 10,000 hours of gameplay, already knew this was going to happen. But even so, having your entire body on fire still hurts like hell. Divine Fever was one of the strongest debuffs in the entire game. Basically, the never-ending pain makes people give up on life altogether. That's how the temple eliminates those who rejected baptism. Our boy is an idiot. I thought he'd have some trait to survive it, but he was about to die. Until by pure chance, someone threw a liquid on him that purified him. Yeah, I just mixed cured and purified, folks. New word for the gamer dictionary. It's that sort of bland girl from earlier that he fell for, right? She's the one who asks if he's okay. He thinks she's a bit crazy, since most people avoid helping anyone going through that whole baptism thing. But now, thanks to her healing, he just needed to hang in there a little longer. Finally, it appears, the divine resistance trait. The guy's practically in full cultivation mode, gathering energy. Obviously, he wouldn't have refused the baptism without a plan. Divine Fever, basically, burns away your mana. And since he's just a level 1 with barely any mana right now, the fever doesn't affect him all that much. Phase 1 complete, and now he's obtained Divine Resistance and has already equipped the trait. Problem is, he's still burning, still writhing in pain, while the girl's just throwing bottles at him. I thought it was rare healing potions or something, but no. She's literally just throwing regular water on him. But even if it's just plain H2O, it was helping him calm down. He was right there, bro, concentrating fire and water in his chest, while divine energy burned around him. Dude's full yin-yang mode, combining the pain of fire with the coolness of reason. With a tiny bit of mana left in his chest, he manages to extinguish the flames. Everyone shields their eyes, and what he awakens now is Mana Barrier. Now he's standing there all smug, arms crossed. 5 seconds ago, he was practically dying like an idiot, but now he's confident. If there's one thing that helps Warrior Kim survive, it's this. The girl asks if he's okay. He says yeah, thanks to her, while everyone else around is confused, wondering if he really survived Divine Fever. But the truth is, Kim didn't end the fire. Technically, he's still burning. It's just that he created a barrier between himself and the flames so he doesn't feel the pain. And this mad lad, without hesitation, walks straight up to the platform to measure his talents. When the scan completes, it shows that yeah, he's still level 1, but he has 6 circuits, which are basically like traits. The folks behind him say it all makes sense now, why the Saint was so interested. He's basically a super beginner. Kim didn't want to draw attention, right? But after everything that happened with the Saint, it was unavoidable. The girl at the desk congratulates him, saying it's the first time she's ever seen a newbie with 6 abilities. Now he just needs his superhuman license to be fully official. Sometime later at the registration desk, there it is, the license he worked so hard to get. She congratulates our boy on becoming a complete superhuman. He's practically glowing. His heart's about to burst from his chest. He says he worked hard to achieve something like this. She says she'll explain all the new privileges he now has. But nah, our boy starts listing them before she can even speak. Lower taxes. He can carry weapons. The higher his level, the more money he earns. He's immune to arrest for a bunch of things. Transportation, food, a ton of stuff is free. And there's more benefits too. She's standing there confused, like, yeah, looks like you memorized everything you gain. He says this because he's addicted to games. Or actually, to avoid saying games, he says he's a doctor in superhumanology. Okay. But suddenly, he says he needs help with something that's not included in the benefits. Looking out at the crowd outside, he wants a way to leave this place without drawing attention. She stands up and tells him not to worry. She's already prepared something. He is all flustered when she gets up and tosses a little jacket over his shoulders, telling him to follow her. We've probably gotten so used to massive wafers that this more normal one feels almost too normal. But maybe that's a good thing. It's like yin-yang, balance, you know. After so many intense ones, now there's a calm one. Perfect equilibrium. As they walk through with the cloak, he thanks her, saying that without her, this would have been way harder. That cloak had the stealth ability, and since he used it, he also gained the stealth trait. She then points to the end of the hallway and says, unfortunately, she can only take him that far. Our boy thanks her, and then she walks away, while this fool's standing there thinking he never imagined someone in Arcane Seoul could be that kind. Not to mention, she was cute. So when he gets stronger, he's definitely gonna pay her back. He pulls out the card she gave him to check her name. Her name was Backsoaring. And then he remembers a badass from the game, a sword-wielding maniac from the Berserker class. One of the top 3 strongest warriors in the whole Berserker class. Since she always had a crazy expression in the game, he hadn't recognized her. But now he realizes there was something familiar. He never imagined that crazy woman could smile like that. For anyone who thought that finally his life was going to start getting better, forget it, man. There he is, exhausted and dried out because he's been farming nonstop for a whole week ever since he became a superhuman. This whole time he cleared a single dungeon, which proves right that Warrior Kim's efficiency is garbage. One of the reasons, though, that he's doing so badly is that they always have to keep traits that can make mana regeneration really high so he can maintain that barrier. That's because, you know, if he removes it, he'll be consumed by the sacred fire. The problem is, he's sure that if he had specialized only in hunting, he would finish many hours ago. The problem is that to get rid of this debuff, he needs a potion called Nectar, which is the only thing that removes Divine Fever. But, of course, it's super expensive and the poor guy has no way to get it. The only way to gather money is by doing this cleaning mission. But man, it's taking way too long. While he's there, worn out and stuck in this loop of suffering, the phone rings. It's Director Choi and he wonders when this bastard is going to stop calling. That bastard is way too persistent. Right when he's about to hit reject on the call, suddenly, his expression changes and it looks like he just had a really good idea. Sometime later at the Seongsu agency, someone is welcoming Warrior Kim. It's the same boss from before, saying he heard that he survived the Divine Fever and on top of that, has 6 abilities. Truly, he's a man of honor. Our boy is just standing there saying, yeah, things turned out that way. He now wants to know how the job he requested is going. Out of nowhere, the guy's expression changes. He says it's way too hard. Nectar is an extremely rare medicine that can only be obtained from superhumans above level 5. Right away, Kim stands up, saying that if he's not going to get it, then he's out. But obviously the guy blocks the way out, saying he doesn't need to worry, that the item is basically guaranteed soon, so there's no need for him to leave. Kim knows that this bastard has contacts with countless hunters who started there and nowadays are really strong, so it's possible that he really can get a nectar. So he sits back down and asks what the request is this time. The guy shows something on a tablet and asks if he's ever heard of number 1 security. He gets kind of confused, says he hasn't heard of it, and asks if it's some kind of security company or something. The guy explains that it's a private military company and one of the 10 strongest in the country. Apparently, the CEO and the vice CEO are a couple who also work there. Both of them come from traditional martial families, so the company has a solid foundation. Kim asks what the problem is with a protection company like that. There's no way they need protection for a protection company. The old guy says it has nothing to do with that. The son is the problem. He's over 20 years old and still hasn't awakened any superhuman ability. Kim says that really is supposed to be unlikely since both parents are martial artists. The old guy says the boy has already accumulated mana at level 8, but even so, he hasn't awakened. And it seems like the type of person they're looking to hire is a level 1 superhuman warrior, which is, exactly our boy. Kim gives a little grin and says that if that's the case, it sounds like a good job and he'll go take care of it. Next scene, they're already in a massive mansion, sitting on the couch, and the old man says it looks like the CEO of the company is kind of busy. Our boy, on the other hand, is just looking around impressed by how luxurious the place was. Their expressions change, though, when someone says sorry for taking so long. The woman on the right apologizes for the delay, introduces herself as Lee Miri, and says the guy next to her is Seo Jeonju. That guy was born to be a winner. The guy even had CEO in his name. Kim's boss is already bowing, thanking them for their presence. Meanwhile, Kim already realized both of them were superhumans at least level 6. The amount of mana they had was pretty considerable. The dad there, the Seo Jeonju guy, has a grumpy face that looks more like a primate, saying he already noticed they're both pretty weak, and it's not going to be worth it. The wife asks him to calm down, especially since it's not strength they need at the moment. Then they sit down and she thanks them both for coming. She asks if they're willing to accept the request. Kim says that's fine, but first he would need to check the condition of the sun and see if there's anything preventing the awakening. Then suddenly, Seo Jeonju is smashing the table. The guy already stood up cursing, saying he's not going to tell something like that to an amateur like him. Man, this guy really needs to take some chill pills. Our boy didn't even do anything yet. The mom tries to calm down her primate of a husband, apologizing and saying he always acts like this when it comes to their son. But really, it's something they can't tell someone from outside. If he accepts the request, then they'll explain the situation. Besides, she's already noticed that he must be needing nectar. Honestly, it's a pretty dumb family, right? How are you going to hire someone before he even knows the situation and whether he can even solve it? Now you gave him the info, and what's he supposed to do? Our boy, though, doesn't really have a choice. His efficiency is crap, and he needs to get back to farming as fast as possible. Obviously, with his 10,000 hours of gameplay, maybe he knows what this is about, and that's why he ends up accepting the request. That's when suddenly the princess of the moment appears, introducing himself as Siu Woojin. Our boy goes up to the guy, introduces himself, and greets him, but he immediately notices that the guy didn't have any mana. Looking down, he sees that the guy was wearing a pretty interesting glove with a little pentagram on it. Woojin says he doesn't even deserve something that good, but ends up using it anyway, and Kim replies that he understands, after all, he must have needed something strong enough to seal the mana he has. Looks like that bit of info was crucial, since the whole family got surprised. Our boy smiles and says that now everything became crystal clear the moment he saw the glove. No wonder they were setting so many conditions and asked for a level 1 warrior. Woojin had probably also been baptized by the church order, and the reason he hadn't awakened was because he rejected the baptism, and with that, sealed his own mana to avoid getting burned. Since they didn't want to make that public, they chose to keep it a secret. Then they heard about warrior number 1, who managed to survive the divine fever. And of course, they immediately went to the company he worked for. Woojin stands there impressed and then compliments our boy, saying that apparently they called Sherlock Holmes. But the bastard's licking his lips, saying that nothing is hard to guess when you already know the future. That's because he saw Woojin's face, and he knows it's the same face as the person who, in the future, would become the Church Order's Vanguard Paladin. He refuses the baptism and goes a long time without powers, but eventually, his parents lose all influence. Because of that, he gives in and ends up joining the church. Now the primate dad already changed his expression and is asking if there's some kind of way to remove the baptism from his son. Our boy can already tell the bastard's acting all nice now suddenly humble out of nowhere, but he reveals that yes, there is a way. Obviously, only someone with 10,000 hours of gameplay would know something like that. He says Woojin has already suffered enough. He could count on him to escape that fate. Man, I said he was a princess, but the guy is really acting like one. The bastard's even hugging him right there. And Kim wants to do this to take away yet another person who would have ended up in the church. He's going to steal the future subordinate from her as revenge for trying to baptize him. But suddenly, he stops for a second and tells everyone that to treat the boy, there's one condition. The mom says she understands that now the request got more complex, but whatever he asks, they'll make it happen. Kim then says he wants them to teach him the mountain-smashing sword technique. Suddenly, the parents' expressions change. He's got that smug little grin on his face, but the boss is straight up scared, man. The mom starts exuding an aura and gets closer, wanting to know if he has any idea what he just said. Looking at the 3-meter-tall mom, he wonders why she's being so terrifying. Even the dad, who was the primate earlier, is now hiding, saying he's not dealing with this one. Our boy then explains that a lot of people find it strange that he learned a sword technique in a world focused on information and tech. But in a world like Arcane Soul, where power equals authority, all of that changes. That's because this is a perfect technique to destroy warships and tanks, man. Someone with this kind of power is extremely valued and becomes unmatched on the battlefield. And there's nothing better than learning a technique like that from level 1 and strengthening it from the start of the game. But now looking at the terrifying mom, he says that of course he only wants to learn it if he completes the request. At that, the mom looks at her little princess behind our boy and suddenly turns off the aura. She says fine then. If he manages to heal her son, he'll receive both the sword technique and the nectar. Kim is all happy, man. Those were the two things he wanted the most. He puts on a surprised face, but just look at that bastard's face, saying he never expected something like this and genuinely thanks them. But of course, the mom warns that if he fails, they're not going to be happy about it. Our boy says not to worry, he's going to start the process right now. Next scene, in a room with a mana fusion circle. Along with that, 200 intermediate-grade mana potions. The mom says she prepared everything he asked for. Kim thanks her, but says he wants to be alone with the patient during a treatment. What does this bastard think he's a doctor now to be making these kinds of demands? The mom then apologizes for the way she treated our boy earlier. She reveals that Woojin was baptized before he even started going to school, man. He never even had the chance to make friends and had to live alone. Huh? But why? Like, when you go outside, do you just start burning or something? What's going on here? Couldn't he just make friends without using mana? Do you need mana to have friends in this world now? I guess they'll explain that later. Right. She bows and thanks our boy, saying she's entrusting her son to him. Kim is sure that, just like him, she must also hate that damn saint. And seeing him all princessy, taking care of his mom, makes our boy wonder how this guy is going to become the leader of the vanguard in the future. Then he says for them not to worry, that he guarantees success. When it's just the two of them in the room, our boy tells him to get ready. They're about to begin. The dude's there trembling, and Kim tells him to relax a bit, but Woojin says he's sure. Our boy thinks he's going to torture him, hit him with a bunch of drugs, electric shock, potions, and whatever else to somehow trigger his awakening. Confused, our guy wants to know what kind of treatment he's been trying all this time. The truth is, right, the treatment to cure divine fever is just to drink nectar after you awaken. The problem is, he was cursed so early that even before he had mana of his own, he already absorbed a ton of divine fever energy. That's why he never awakened. And that's why the nectar doesn't work. Grabbing some potions, Kim tells the guy not to worry, just that today's treatment is top secret. Then our boy starts expanding his own mana barrier. The problem is, when he expands the barrier, it starts getting weaker, and he begins getting affected by the divine fever. To keep the barrier expanded, he immediately pulls out 2 potions and starts recovering mana. Throws the bottles behind him, starts recovering mana again. Throws the bottles behind him, starts recovering mana again. After repeating that several times, he gains the trait addicted to drugs. With that trait activated, he would take more damage and consume more mana. But on the other hand, any item he used would have its effect drastically increased. With that trait unlocked, now he just needed to focus on the shield itself. Now, basically with infinite mana while drinking potions, he's able to expand the shield a lot more. The mana fever in him is now much farther away. The kid's all happy, but Kim says things are just getting started. He tells Woojin to take off the glove, put his hand outside the barrier, and hold his hand. Woojin says that if he does that, there's going to be a resonance between the 2 fevers, to which Kim explains the kid will survive since he'll be inside the barrier. With that, the protagonist is already outside and tells him not to ask too many questions. Just do it. The problem is, it's been a long time since Woojin took his mana out, and he's a bit nervous. Ever since the day he was baptized, that was the only way he could survive the extreme pain. But even so, the kid didn't hesitate much, man. He already took off the glove and stretched his hand out of the globe. The problem is, the thing is exploding in Kim's direction, and he's wondering just how much mana this bastard had stored up. It was going to be something terrifying to do, since he was basically going to take both fevers at the same time. As soon as he touches the hand, man, his entire body starts going up in flames. That was hurting way more than the whole baptism process. His bones were breaking and turning into ash while he regenerated. But the hatred he felt toward that damn saint was way stronger than the pain. So out of nowhere, he throws himself inside the globe and falls to the ground along with the little princess. He gains the damage absorption ability, which let him steal the damage another person would take and pass it onto himself. Woojin's already super happy because even without the glove, he was managing to stay calm. Our boy explains it there, kinda obvious, we already got it. He absorbed the divine fever from the kid from inside to outside, which basically weakened the one he already had. And now it was time for the final stage. He hands Woojin the sword and tells him not to stop attacking until he awakens. Woojin answers not to worry since practicing swordsmanship is the only thing he's been doing all this time. He gets ready and lands a direct hit on our guy. Damn, could've gone a little easier, dude. He's already behind him landing another blow. Kim can't believe this bastard broke his steel gauntlet with a wooden sword. At least he obtained the protection trait. The problem is, even with that trait increasing his defense, it wasn't easy surviving this bastard. The guy comes in with another vertical strike. Instead of trying to block it, Kim dodges this time before he takes another one. And boom, he earns another trait, evasion. The problem is that, yeah, he's getting a bunch of traits, but he can only equip 6 at a time, so it's not like he's getting a whole lot stronger, or is he? Then Kim smiles because he sees smoke coming off of Woojin. That was a perfect sign that he was just about to fully awaken. But then he notices something strange. The kid and the sword were glowing the same color. Man, the bastard already awakened at SSR rank with a talent, one with the sword. That's the state where just imagine the person becomes one with the sword. Yeah, very literal. And obviously, it was a ridiculously broken talent for the warrior class. They just had no clue how this bastard managed to awaken that right off the bat. And the worst part is he seemed to be in some kind of trance and wasn't stopping his attacks. Kim is trying to dodge, but one's coming straight for his face. So in the same second, he switches all of his traits to everything he has for defense and recovery. That was the only way he'd at least make it out alive. He raises his barrier with both hands, places a reinforcement circle at his feet. Everything starts stacking and mixing. Woojin's attack comes in full force, and the entire floor of the room gets destroyed. Our boy even had to raise a mana shield. A shield that was a combo of mana barrier and protection. Already standing back up, totally wrecked, he says that this bastard awakened a way too broken talent. That's when he notices Woojin seemed kind of dizzy and then suddenly collapses like a sack of trash. But the sneaky little guy was all happy, falling asleep with a smile on his face, which obviously makes sense. Since it was the first time he awakened, he used up all his mana. It was really expected that this guy would be strong. After all, in the game, he was an SSR character. But when he was baptized, he got forced into becoming a paladin, even though it was clear he was way more suited to the warrior class. Probably what Kim did here was create a monstrous warrior that shouldn't even exist. The timeline of this world was completely altered now that he wasn't going to be part of the church anymore and had become this powerful, which for our boy is perfect, since this monster he just created is a spoiled brat who now owes him a little favor. Sometime later, back in the room with Woojin in bed, everyone's impressed that he actually managed to heal the kid. The parents are already bowing, thanking our boy, who's standing there all full of himself, while saying it was no big deal, no need to worry. The mom strokes her son's hair and says it's been so long since she saw him sleeping with a smile like that. Then she looks at her husband and the two exchange a smile. Seo Jeonju comes over with an envelope saying it contains the information about the mountain-smashing sword technique. Kim says there's no need to worry about that, but obviously, man, he's super anxious. And his expression changes completely when the dad says that, as an extra thank you, he'll also be getting a little bonus. 1,000,000,000. He's all sweet now, saying he loves kindness, but just look at the bastard's face on the inside. Sometime later, back at the base, the boss says he hit the jackpot. Holding the chip and the nectar, our boy says he's sure he did. The boss wants to know if he's already going to drink the nectar. Kim says yes, and also that he's going to disappear for a while. The boss already knows, right man, after he gets rid of that divine fever, he's going to attract even more attention from the church. It's best if he vanishes before those crazy lunatics start hunting him down. But he finds it kind of sad. If he had time to refine the nectar before drinking it, it would definitely give his mana a major boost. Kim agrees. He knows that's true. Nectar is a pretty rare item for someone at a low level. If it were refined, it would increase his power as a superhuman even more. A while later, he arrives at a hotel, and the boss thanks him for everything. He says that if Kim needs help refining the nectar, just send a message. Our warrior Kim says okay, he'll think about it. But man, the moment he gets to the room, he already opens it up and says he's drinking that thing right now. He's already learned just how cruel and unpredictable this world of Arcane can be. That incident with the damn deer made it very clear that at any moment he could die or be betrayed. On top of that, he's got drug addiction, mana absorption, and potion dependency. All traits that are going to boost the effect, thanks to those 200 mana potions he downed one after another. Well, drank, right? The Mumus and the Genius. And now, the second he consumes the nectar, bam, he throws the bottle to the ground and drops to his knees as the divine fever kicks in again. Here he goes again with the speech saying, "Every fiber of my body is being burned. It feels like I'm being destroyed and rebuilt at the same time. An incredible amount of mana is being stored inside me. The golden aura bursts out from the top of the building. And with that, the guy jumps up to superhuman level 2. Even better, for curing the divine fever using the nectar, he gets the trait Black Flame. Considering it's a tier 1 trait, it's one of the best in the entire game. I imagine in this case, tier 1 is the lowest tier, right? I'm not sure, you have to check how it works later. The guy though is smiling from ear to ear. Today he got Black Flame and the mountain smashing sword technique. But his celebration is interrupted by a notification on his phone. It's Director Choi saying he has something to say. Our boy decides to completely ignore it and walks off. But the messages keep coming in, so he decides to go back and see what the bastard wants. The texts don't seem to make any sense. Something about understanding why he was hesitating, telling him to stay focused and keep hunting, and that he should reply as soon as he sees the message. Kim is confused. This bastard can't even text properly, and now he's sending these giant paragraphs. That's when he notices something weird. In the sequence of words, you could read a hidden message saying that the Dagger Gang is coming to hunt him. First of all, obviously, right, this whole hidden text thing would only work in Korean. For us here translating, it makes absolutely no sense. Secondly, seriously, our boy must be some kind of Sherlock Holmes to figure all that out with just a glance. Kim, however, knows that for him to have hidden the message like that, it really had to be something serious. The Dagger Gang basically were the rivals of the Iron Fist Gang. If Director Choi wanted to betray him, he probably would have just called to buy time. Which proves that this disguised message was clearly his way of saying he got caught. Considering the timeline, it was right after our boy got out of the car, and now he's on his way back. But Kim decides to ignore all that for now. He already had the nectar he needed, and now he just needed to get stronger to survive in this world. Meanwhile, in another room, man, the poor bald guy was getting beat up. Honestly, that dude was actually a decent guy, man. I feel kinda bad for him. And our protagonist doesn't seem too interested in saving him, not really. The guys are telling him to spill information about the new superhuman working with him, but he says he's not going to say a thing, no matter what they do. The guy with the psycho smile says all right then, he left them no choice. They'll have to handle it a different way. Damn, man, you brought out an axe? You're gonna kill the guy? How are you gonna get any info like that? The guy asks which hand he uses to eat and warns that he's gonna lose the other one. Of course, the bald dude hesitates to answer, and the guy lifts the huge axe to finish the job. He was just about to chop his hand off when, boom, an explosion went off behind them. Everyone turns around, confused, wanting to know what just happened. One of the henchmen, falling to the ground, calls for the boss, saying some lunatic is on his way. Man, our boy. I thought he showed up kicking the wall down, but nope, the bastard launched a bazooka, man. For someone from the warrior class, this guy is really into modern stuff. He says he can't abandon someone who helped him out so much. Even if this world of Arcane is cruel, he needs allies, and to not lose one of the few he has, he'll have to blow this whole place up. Another bazooka shot hits the building. Man, this setup really is full-on modern. The guys come out with AKs and have force in hand, looking around like, where's the bastard firing rockets at our base? Kim says these bastards are just like cockroaches. When you blow up the nest, they all scatter in every direction. Even though the place looks like just another apartment, he knew this was the Dagger Gang's base. This was like a dungeon hidden in the middle of the city, one he cleared countless times back when he was playing. He knows each one of the 6 buildings that make up the whole complex. And since this was something you had to do in every tutorial, he could handle it with his eyes closed. He jumps from one building to another, saying he'll show them how a veteran completes it. The armed guys are all in the middle of the street, looking around, pacing back and forth, trying to figure out where the bazooka fire came from. They're walking near a trash can. No way did Kim really throw himself in the trash, man. One of them hears some movement and goes to check it out. And in a blink, our boy appears, grabs him by the neck, and slams his face into the ground. Ah, he was using that face-covering gear that boosted the invisibility he got from the cloak, right? So the guy couldn't even see him. And now, while the dumb gangsters are running around the city looking for him, he's going to sneak into the main building, right through the secret entrance that leads straight to where they handle things. Obviously, the best move is to avoid combat, considering how many enemies there are. And he knows it's on the 5th floor where the Dagger Gang hides people when they're torturing them, which is a bit of a hassle for him, since it means keeping stealth active the whole time. But just when he thought he was safe, slipping by unnoticed, the alarm goes off, warning that an intruder has entered the building. All gang members were now supposed to head straight to that location. Kim's stealth plan had gone down the drain. Trying to run was impossible, since he'd end up face-to-face with the guys coming in. He could use the outside stairs, but doing that would land him right in front of a barricade full of soldiers. The second he opens that door, though, he could also get sprayed with bullets. There's only one right answer when you're in that kind of situation. He pulls out a minigun man, opens the door, and starts mowing everyone down, throwing out a nice to meet you. Before the guys could even react, bullets were flying all over the room. Some tried to shoot back at our boy, but at the same time, he'd already thrown a grenade. Out of nowhere, this whole operation is 100% military. Where's the mountain-smashing sword technique now, huh? One second it's a fantasy RPG, next second we're in the Call of Duty lobby. What the hell is going on? and the bastard's already pulled out 3 more grenades. Actually, not 3. He's tossed like 10 of them in everyone's direction. The whole room is blowing up while he says he hopes the gang is enjoying the gift. Sometime later, he walks in, and of course, everyone's dead. Or so he thought. One of the guys who was pretending to be dead suddenly gets up and fires a shot. Kim locks eyes with the bullet and barely dodges it. At that moment, he gains the sensitivity trait. Finally, he got exactly what he needed to fight off a crowd of enemies at once. The guy starts begging for mercy, but a second later, he's also gone with a bullet right to the dome. First floor cleared. Time to start heading up the stairs again. And the real danger starts now. From the 4th floor onward, he'd find more and more people. And obviously, the boss would be up top. But then he notices something strange. Turning into a hallway that should have been packed with people, it's completely empty. He checks the betting room, also empty. He keeps scanning every room until he gains the focus trait. As soon as it activates, he seems to hear something coming from upstairs. Yeah, not that hard to hear when it's a freaking drone man. Last time I heard one of those, I looked up and it felt like the thing was playing The Sun, louder than a mosquito in my ear. And yo, if you thought only our boy played Call of Duty, you were wrong. The drone drops a flashbang. Poor guy gets blinded, and right then, someone appears at his side. It's the Dagger Guild, right? Coming in with their signature weapon to stab him in the back. The strike seems to hit right at the jugular. And what I believe to be the boss says, the little rat's dead. Yeah, really, if I had moved the screen just 1 more pixel, I'd have seen it. It's the leader of the Dagger Gang, a level 2 superhuman. But Kim had activated his mana shield right when the guy struck. And now he asks, what's this about things being over? The snake-tongued boss looks confused, not understanding how this bastard defended himself. As soon as he backs off, our boy says he's found a bastard who dresses like a rat. Apparently, that drone plus flashbang trick is a well-known strategy in the game, which is why he knew exactly how to react. It's a really common pattern, and the moment he saw the flashbang dropping, he switched on his mana shield and stacked protection on his back. The boss wants to know how he survived that ambush, and our boy tells him not to be too surprised, because things were just getting started, and now the guy's gonna regret ever putting a target on him. Our warrior Kim charges in, goes for his slash, but the dagger dude dodges, disappearing, saying Kim's trying too hard to be a badass for someone that's slow. He throws a dagger with a green aura, but our warrior deflects it. Kim's impressed. Even with his 2 detection abilities, it was hard to figure out where the attacks were coming from. And obviously, every dagger that guy threw was imbued with magic poison. And the dagger guy thinks this is all just dumb luck, saying the kid should buy a lottery ticket. But if he surrendered now, he might still get a bit of mercy. Kim tells him to stop talking nonsense and come at him already. The guy replies that he's sure Kim must be a shooter, based on how stupid he looks holding that sword. Like, how is some wanted gunman supposed to win in close combat? Our protagonist is confused. That might have been the worst roast I've ever heard, man. Imagine being so bad with a sword that someone assumes you have to be a gunner? No way. But he knows that's what the guy's thinking, right? Because Kim showed up bazooka blasting all Call of Duty. Then the dagger boss charges again, saying his death will be as painful as possible. He goes for a slash, while our warrior Kim goes for a vertical strike from above. The guy dodges, but I think that was part of Kim's plan. The dagger guy says he's way too slow, but our boy spins the sword downward and redirects the cut right toward his face. Looks like he used some sort of skill. Probably that fast slash combo, and the guy doesn't get it, because Kim was supposed to be a shooter. But man, that lizard bastard dodges everything. He crouches and counters in another direction. Only now, our boy's all covered in aura. He's got the mountain-smashing sword, extra strength, and combo traits all active. And he tells him that ever since he swapped traits, he's not a shooter anymore. Then, bam, a full hit to the shoulder using the mountain technique. Man, the guy screamed in agony. I thought he was gonna lose an arm, but nah, he just coughed up lunch. Our boy then slings the sword over his shoulder and says, lower your guard like that and you always lose. Obviously, though, the other guy wasn't done yet. He throws another poison dagger, saying it's not over. Kim's impressed by how persistent the guy is, man. The wall gets splattered with blood, and finally a dagger dude drops. At last, our Kim killed someone, huh? I was starting to think he was the new messiah, forgiving everyone. Although I did forget he blew up a bunch of background characters with grenades, right? But no one cares about those poor souls, goes to show how the world really is, huh, folks. The problem now is our guy got stabbed in the ribs. Even before dying, the bastard was still causing trouble. And obviously, the moment Kim touched the body, the poison started spreading. He immediately swaps all of his traits to a sequence of recovery, regeneration, and whatever else. He starts focusing his mana on the wound to try to ease the pain. It was manageable. He could hold on, even though it hurt. But before he could relax, someone outside was already yelling at him to get out, saying they knew he was in there. More and more people would be arriving, so there was no time to waste in that building. Meanwhile, on the 5th floor, where the bald guy was. The poor guy was thrashing around and finally managed to fall to the floor. He used his little finger to grab a shard of glass and tried to start cutting the rope. That's when our boy showed up and asked the poor guy how he got caught so easily. The old dude, all teary-eyed, thanked him for coming all the way there to save him. But our boy just tells him to cut the thanks and run faster. People are coming. Problem is, man, the poor old dude was totally wrecked, barely able to walk. Our guy felt bad for him, right? But there's no one left to get revenge on. He already killed the guy. So humbly, he tells the guy to climb on his back. But the old dude's confused and says he's not really feeling up to it. Our boy warns him, if he doesn't climb on, he's getting slashed, because they gotta get out of there ASAP. While walking with him, our boy is impressed that even though they barely knew each other, the guy stayed loyal and didn't say anything about him. He thought Arcane Seoul was a hellhole with no decent people, but really there were a few who surprised him. Back at the guy's company. Look at that. Drinking can potion man. That's new to me. And finally, after suffering for a few hours with the poison and recovering, he gains poison resistance. The boss tells him not to worry. If he needs more potions, just say the word. Our boy replies that it's fine. After all, right, he already got a new trait. Then the old man says he doesn't even know how to thank him. He explains that the boy's info leaked when he was preparing the nectar. He shouldn't have trusted even his own staff. Our boy says it's all good. Besides, he already drank the nectar. The boss is surprised, especially because he said he was going to improve the item. But our boy says this world is way too dangerous. And besides, if he hadn't drunk it, the boss would be dead, since he wouldn't have been strong enough to save him. Poor boss, man, he's all sad now. He's thinking the kid drank it just to save him, right? Meanwhile, our boy's face is like, aw, poor guy. He has no idea I was gonna drink it anyway. Then, out of nowhere, someone's banging on the door. The bald guy is wondering if these dagger bastards are ever going to stop. He wants to know what they should do, but our boy says, just let them in. But when he opens the door, he's surprised, man. It's the Iron Fist gang and their ammo-belted leader. Our boy gives them a welcome, and the boss immediately says it's crazy that he exterminated the Dagger gang. He's clearly not just some regular kid. Now he wants to know why he was called there. Kim's thinking he called this bastard because it's time to collect his reward for clearing out that ridiculously hard dungeon. The Iron Fist gang and the Dagger gang were enemies. So now they wiped out one side, he obviously helped the other. In the game, you eventually get exactly this kind of quest later on. So yeah, he's basically just cashing in on a future reward now. And best of all, the reward tends to be really good. The boss asks if he's thinking about starting up his own organization, but our boy replies no way, that admin stuff isn't his thing. He's actually here to tell the Iron Fist boss that he can take over all the territory the Dagger gang used to control. Our boy's playing the most humble man alive, saying that this is payment for that time the guy let him walk out alive, thanks to the partnership between them. And the boss, poor guy, takes the bait like a fish, saying the boy really does owe him something. But even he admits this payment is kinda over the top. Our boy doesn't even hide it and says they're on the same page. He tells the boss to remember, it's thanks to him that the guy is getting a whole giant area. So maybe, he should get something in return. The boss already picked up the vibe and tells him to spit it out. And what our boy wants is what every good, honest worker wants too. A house in his name, man. He's tired of sleeping in that hotel where he gets attacked every other night. The gang boss, though, looks a bit confused about the request. Our boy explains that he's basically going to turn the house into a fully protected base. Then he goes into a little drama moment, saying that this fight with the Dagger gang almost killed him. The boss coughs and says, all right, he did wipe those bastards out, so the deal is done. Our boy grins, saying he likes how straightforward he is. The boss then wants to know what kind of house he's looking for. A luxury apartment? A building? A gated community? But our boy says he just wants a regular house on a normal street as long as he can set up good security. Bulletproof, everything proof. And the most important part, it had to come with a training area in the basement. The boss is standing there, thoughtful and hesitant, but our boy's getting annoyed. He knows exactly which house he wants, and he knows the boss knows it too. The guy finally says he knows one kind of isolated over in the Cellum region. Right then, our boy puts on this nice little friendly smile like, oh, sounds like a good place. But inside, he's thinking, exactly that one, you bastard. That place is kind of the top of a higher-up region, and in the game, it's the first base players get. He's extremely familiar with everything that can be done there, where to install protection, how to secure the place, all of it. Next scene. There he is, sunbathing, still in the same clothes from day one. My guy, Warrior Kim, please take a shower, man. But he's out there celebrating on the balcony, saying this rich life is too good. When he arrived in this damn game not long ago, stuck in that tiny room, he had no idea what to do. Not to mention the hospital bill was 20 million. What the hell was that mess? Now he's got a house that looks more like a palace. He's got money, he's got security. Life is finally starting to look good. The problem is, in Arcane Seoul, he doesn't have much time to enjoy his success. Once the plot of this game starts picking up, that damn saint is gonna go crazy. That girl could totally turn into a yandeer, right? Falling for our boy, obsessing over him. That would spice things up real nice. Simon author, toss us a bone. Humble request. Kim, though, is way more worried about the fact that she's an extremely cruel villain who's itching to destroy this city. So he pulls out a pickaxe and says it's time to get what really makes this house worth it. Down in the training room, he's hammering a wall. As soon as the sound gets kinda hollow, he grabs the pickaxe, and it's Minecraft time, man. Or actually, it just took one swing and the wall was already falling apart. Turns out it's gonna be way easier than he thought. But even though each pickaxe hit was opening a crater, the place felt endless. He was already exhausted. Still, the bastard doesn't quit and keeps going, until finally, water starts flowing from the ground. He opens his mouth wide, sticking that giant tongue out to catch a little water and starts recovering. But that wasn't just any water, it was a mana spring. Even a character with 0 HP could recover inside that. Not to mention, even the worst debuffs would vanish. And only someone who's played the game would know there's a mana spring hidden in this house, which makes it way more valuable. It took a lot more work than in the game, but the bastard even installed a bathtub under the spring. Just a bit of time soaking in, and he's already overflowing with therapeutic effects. And the advantage is pretty obvious. He can train in the training room, rest in the spring, and level up way faster than anyone else. Now it's time to show how a free-to-play climbed into the top 10 of the rankings. Man, our boy's actually really motivated, huh? He's been training there for 2 weeks straight, not leaving the place. Of course, right. It's a Manhwa character. The author just wrote he trained for 2 weeks, and here I am like, wow, he's so amazing. Anyway, moving on, our boy is now radiating that black aura from the divine fever, while also activating a blue aura on his sword. Man, the guy's glowing like a Christmas tree. He tosses the sword up and boom, combo time. And obviously, right, he's been practicing all the skills he got, including that mountain-smashing sword technique. Looks like he learned a bunch of techniques already. It got some crazy names, Mountain Destroyer, Mountain Piercer, but really it's just a vertical slash and a stab. That's it. The important thing is that the bastard is motivated because he mastered all that and also mastered the black flame. And now he puts together a combo of traits, man, that makes him perfect for combat. That's the start of his full-on training phase. Now it was time to obtain the mana cultivation techniques, something that unfortunately couldn't be achieved just by training hard. Not to mention, if he had refined that nectar earlier, he probably would have jumped straight to superhuman level 3. And that's exactly why there's still some mana kind of floating around inside his body. To fully absorb the mana that the nectar could have given him and reach level 3, he needed this mana cultivation technique. Of course, like everything in this cursed world, it costs billions and billions. So he went to an antique shop and the old guy asked if he really wanted to buy that. It had been sitting there for more than a decade. But apparently, wait, hold on, he already bought it. He's making all this drama, but he already. Oh no, forget it, guys. I'm totally spaced out here. He bought it back when he was playing on his phone, man. As always, this antique store is kinda secretive, and barely anyone even knows that there's a technique like that for sale there. Problem is, when he gets to the front of the store, he finds out. It's got a money barrier, and it's completely sealed off. There's a sign saying the store will remain closed until the market sinks in and stabilize. Our boy is confused. That place was always open in the game, so why is it like this now? Not to mention, when he looks around, he notices this area, which used to be super crowded, is now basically abandoned. Nothing's open. Looks like the world of Arcane Seoul is starting to change from what he used to know. He walks around the area and spots a guy sitting there smoking a little cigarette. He asks how things have been around here lately. The old man says it's obvious. Everyone around here is closing and going bankrupt. With those damn gangs fighting every day, no customers were showing up, and the whole territory turned into a mess. Confused, Kim asks what's going on. In theory, this is Iron Fist territory. The guy responds that gang's garbage. Ever since the Dagger Gang disappeared, a bunch of gangs have been fighting over the place. Looks like they've been under attack by the Poison Gang and the Naked Gang. That second one? Man, I'm scared of them. My monetization is crying. Kim's a little confused, but now he's starting to understand what happened. When you do the quest in the game, you help the Iron Fist Gang take control of the whole region. But this time, it was different. He won on his own and gave them just a small area. In the past, naturally, the entire zone would have been under their control and no one would dare challenge them. But this time, instead of dominating everything, it turned into complete chaos. While he's wondering what he's going to do, he hears some guys yelling, telling them to take those idiots down. Right away, he knows, must be another gang fight. On one of the streets, some guys are getting slammed into walls. The boot lady tells them this corner belongs to the Poison Gang. Or actually, it's the girl in boots man. She's ordering the Iron Fist punks to get back to their little corner. She's Scorpion, second in command of the Poison Gang. A guy's about to say something when someone nearby wants to know what the hell this mess is in their territory. Whoa, man. It's the Naked Gang. This is horrifying. What a disaster. We really need our protagonist to show up and finish these guys. I'm right there with Scorpion Man saying that these weird perverts just showed up out of nowhere. But the chubby guy, the exhibitionist, says that this spot belongs to the Naked Gang. The two start arguing and it looked like a fight was about to break out when someone walks by the guy lying on the ground. It was our boy showing up saying, looks like things are a mess around here. He tells the guy on the ground to get up. It's time for him to get to work. Then our boy calls both of the little gangsters worthless trash and says, come here. I've got something to say to you. The guy next to our boy is kind of confused, but Kim just tells him to shut up and obey. That's when Scorpion says he must be out of his mind if he thinks he can order her around like that. Meanwhile, the chubby dude wants to know if he has any kind of offer to make. Our boy looks around and realizes there are a bunch of people worried that their businesses are about to get wrecked again. To avoid a fight, he draws his sword, activates the flame aura, mountain-slaying sword technique all at once. Now the two clowns that were about to fight, eyes wide open. And the chubby guy instantly realizes he must be the superhuman who single-handedly annihilated the Dagger Gang. Kim says, yeah, looks like he got recognized quickly, and he's in a generous mood today, so he'll let both of them walk away before a fight breaks out. But if they don't want to leave, then it's going to be a fight, and whoever wins gets control of the market. Scorpion, however, says she's not stupid enough to accept a 1v1 against a warrior-class fighter. But man, our boy is bold. He says he'll fight her in any class she wants. Sometime later, the three of them are chatting there. Looks like Kim's going to have to fight the chubby guy, who's all blushing and saying he'll have to resist mental attacks. Man, this fight is actually terrifying, and the big guy says it's an honor to attack such a beautiful boy. They even invite our boy to join their guild, saying he can worship the primordial goddess. Whoa, who's that? Introduce her to us, Chubby. Our boy, though, just thinks they're a bunch of creeps and asks why he would join something like that. Then he tells the guy to wake up. His religion isn't even in the top 7 strongest ones. Basically, they're unknown in this city. The chubby guy's expression drops. He says, fine. He'll change the mind of the non-believer. Once this is over, Kim will become a worshipper and beg his goddess for forgiveness. He activates some green energy and tells Kim to kneel. Kim stands there trying to resist. His body really does seem like it wants to kneel somehow, but he's not letting that happen. He keeps resisting, and right before he collapses, bam, punches the dude right in the face. The big guy hits the ground, and obviously it would have been hard for Kim to lose something like that with divine resistance equipped. And with that, the naked gang gets dragged away. He turns to Scorpion, who says he's not half bad. But she warns him. Her gang is nothing like those perverts. Kim tells her to get on with it and stop stalling. He's sure of her specialty is poison making, and she probably wants to make him drink something and see if he survives. She sticks her long tongue out. Seriously, what's with all the long tongue characters in this story? And she says if he's that eager to die, she'll help him out. The guy on Kim's back is telling him to cut it out. Drinking poison from her is insane. It's basically a death sentence. But Kim, pleased, he's got poison resistance. There's no way he's dying from that. She pulls out a cup with a skull on it and says that if he survives, she'll walk away. Kim recognizes it right away. It's called the Picnic Killer. It's the poison they have that causes the most pain. He tells her he's going to drink that stinky crap, but if he doesn't die, she's at least getting punched in the face. She says fine, she can't wait to see him beg for forgiveness after one sip. He drinks it immediately and apologizes, saying, unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But man, the psychological impact was way worse than he expected. The guy collapses to the ground and suddenly his head's turning purple. The long-tongued lady comes up and starts stomping on him, saying now he'll regret talking all that trash. If he begs for mercy, she'll let him leave alive. Kim is trying hard to keep his focus. At that moment, he equipped every possible trait to increase his resistance. The problem was, this poison was kind of a special one, mixed with a type of healing. It was a poisonous healing, so just having poison resistance wasn't enough. At the same time that he had to resist the poison, he also had to apply actual healing to recover. He's there, eyes all Snoop Dogged out, concentrating all the poison into his hand. The long-tongued woman doesn't believe it. He's actually managing to locate the essence inside his own body. And with that, man, he gains another trait, drug resistance. All right, he didn't have resistance before, he just had drug addiction, right? I forgot he was the Crackalendia poster boy. After concentrating all that junk into his hand, he slashes it with his sword, and the poison starts leaking out. The guy in the suit and the tongue lady are both confused, saying there's no way this is real. How can anyone control poison that's already inside their body? But Kim's already grabbed her by the hand and said, now it's my turn. Wait, is he breaking her metal finger? Oh, okay, I thought he ripped it off. But she already didn't have the real finger. He just pulled off the prosthetic. The woman asks if he really thinks he'll get away with doing that to her. But he just tells the loser to stop whining and get out of there. Before she can say anything, her teammates pull her away, telling her she better not mess with that guy. And just like that, the Iron Fist crew starts celebrating, saying our boy is a hero. But the thing is, he wasn't there to be a hero man. He looks over and sees that the local shopkeepers notice Iron Fist won the fight. And now they're all wondering if they're going to suffer under new management. He turns to the guy next to him and asks if he admits it was our boy who did all this. The guy says absolutely, he handled everything solo. Kim then says there's a rule for the Iron Fist gang to manage this area. The protection fee they charge must be half of what the Dagger gang used to charge. The suit guy is confused, saying that if they charge that little, there won't even be money to pay the staff. But Kim just asks if, by chance, he's trying to go against him. The guy instantly backs down, no way, I'm sure the boss will agree. With all that, the merchants are already yelling, overjoyed that they'll pay half the cost. Look at the size of the ears on the bastard who said that loud enough for everyone to hear. Kim turns back around like it was no big deal, saying it's all for the good of the citizens. But on the inside, his face is completely different. The slick dog is just trying to use that reputation to get discounts in every shop. And the old man in the back is the first one to speak up. At his store, it's 80% off. Kim's plan worked perfectly. Now he has an entire district to shop around for items. The next day, at the antique store that had been closed before, the shopkeeper welcomes him in, all smiles, saying he's heard a lot about our boy from the other merchants. He's the hero who saved the area. Our boy tells him he's really not all that, just someone who did what was right. But the old man says no, it wasn't just that. He's got this arm all busted up from the gang fights and all the destruction going on. Our boy asks if the man got treatment, and he says yeah, he got the best care the hospital could offer. He almost lost the arm permanently, but luckily, there was a Qigong therapist. Kim has no idea what that even is, but it sounds rare, and he's surprised someone like that is even in a place like this. The old man asks if he wants to meet the guy, and Kim says yes, but first there's something he wants to buy. The old man says he'll sell anything the kid wants, except for the stuff he doesn't have. Yeah, fair enough actually. Makes sense. Our boy, though, says he really sees a lot of interesting stuff in the store, but then he stomps his foot on the ground a few times and says he wants to see what's downstairs. The old man wants to know how he knows about that secret, and our boy just says he has his ways. His ways, of course, being 10,000 hours of gameplay. As he walks into the unauthorized room, the old man says he's only letting him in because he's the guy who saved the street. Inside, there were shelves lined with much rarer items, and the guy says Kim can take a look at whatever he wants. Our boy remembers that in the game, this place was perfect for buying all kinds of unique stuff. But what he's really after is right there. The trumpet of the ancient god. Basically, it's an item that contains the mana cultivation techniques sealed inside. With the most important piece in hand, it was time to grab everything else that might come in handy. A while later, he already had the trumpet, some glasses, some diamonds, and a glove tossed on the counter, saying that's what he'll take. The old man pulls out a calculator and then drops the bomb. That'll be 2 billion. Our boy is stunned. He doesn't have that kind of money. Then the old man says that's the price for someone who's not the hero who saved the street. For him, it'll be 500 million. Ah, you slay dog. Kim's got a whole Minecraft house block of money in his hand now, and the sneaky bastard knew it. Turns out, the higher your favorability with NPCs, the more discounts you get. Then all he needed was to find a priest with holy seal-breaking abilities. So he asked the shopkeeper for the address of that Qigong therapist he mentioned. Next scene, somewhere else in the city. He's knocking on door 101 asking if anyone's in there. No one answers, so he puts his ear up to the door to listen. And just then, the guy opens it right into his face. The moment Kim sees the white hair and tired face, he's certain. This is the guy he's looking for. The dude says he got there way too early, which Kim finds odd since the sun's already going down. The guy tells him to just say what he wants. Kim says he's interested in his healing abilities. And then the guy lights up, saying, "Oh, if you're a client, perfect. I thought you were another one of those damn gangsters." Already inside the room, there's nothing suspicious, except for a giant statue. But with that thing there, Kim at least feels a bit more certain about who this guy really is. The kid tells him to lay down on the machine so they can start the treatment. But Kim says he's not there for treatment. He's there because of an item. He pulls out the big horn and asks him to break the seal. The guy, a bit confused, says he's never done something like that. He declines, saying it's best to ask someone who specializes in this kind of thing. But our boy explains that everyone in this world is dishonest. They'd either charge way too much or straight up steal the item. And neither of those options is acceptable. So he says if the kid breaks the seal, he'll pay him 100 million. He calls the guy Priest Kim, and the kid's surprised. How does he know his name? This guy is the third character from the tutorial, a priest from an unknown religion that worships a being that died 3,000 years ago. You could say he's one of the few truly innocent people in the entire game. Considering the purrs from the naked gang and that robber girl, it's clear that when it comes to faith, people in this world don't have much common sense. The guy already has that psycho smile, saying there are many ways someone like Kim could be useful. But Kim wants to know why the guy's a Qigong therapist instead of a proper priest. He just tells him to grab the horn and keep this between them. The boy agrees, but warns that it won't be easy, since he doesn't have much experience. Shortly after, they both sit down on the floor and the guy starts infusing mana into the item. The protective paper that was wrapped around the item starts to move, and the kid says that, for some reason, it's working easier than he thought. Just a few seconds later, the seal breaks. Hey, that was actually kinda easy. And just like our boy already knew, it was an item that grants the mana cultivation trait. The kid is amazed, and Kim says he always trusted his skills. The boy then recognizes the technique as mana cultivation, but Kim tells him not to overthink it. Before anything else could happen, he already rings the bell to receive the technique. The mana that was still inside his body starts to be absorbed. Now he just has to keep absorbing that mana, and in about 2 or 3 weeks, he'll finally reach superhuman level 3. The kid starts clapping, all excited, saying it's the first time he's seen a warrior learn a technique like this. Our boy just sits down and says he knows it's definitely not something common. But now he's exhausted because this technique takes a lot out of his body, and he's gonna rest there for a bit. The kid just smiles and says that for the amount he's paying, he can rest there as long as he wants. Our boy falls asleep completely at peace. That crazy kid was just as kind as he was in the game. Definitely worth forming a friendship with someone trustworthy like that. He'd benefit a lot from this in the long run. Sometime later, he wakes up to a weird noise. He gets up to take a look, sees a briefcase full of money, and someone pouring gasoline on it. Obviously, it's that crazy kid. Kim wants to know what the hell he's doing, but the boy just sets the gas can down and starts praying, calling out to the forgotten god and asking him to accept this offering and be resurrected. He throws the lighter and our boy freaks out, not understanding what the hell this lunatic is doing. But before the lighter hits, Kim grabs his hand, snatches the thing, and throws him to the floor, demanding to know what kind of curse offering this is, burning money. The kid explains, yeah, obviously, you got to burn the money to offer it to his god. Kim doesn't get it. The boy explains that his god only cares about money. That's the only way to gain divine power. Kim seems to already know a bit about this, and he thinks to himself that this lunatic still believes in that nonsense. The god he worships died 3,000 years ago, and even back when Kim used to play on his phone, that god didn't have any power left, until this priest kid somehow managed to revive him. But apparently the kid doesn't even know what the god actually likes. So Kim tells him the method he's using is wrong. He wasn't supposed to burn money, he was supposed to burn and vaporize gold. The boy thinks Kim's just making stuff up, calling it heresy. But Kim tells him to try it first before talking back. The boy says it makes no sense. This method he's been using has been practiced for thousands of years. Kim responds, well, if it were working so well, your god would have been revived by now. With that, the kid flinches. Kim says it's hard to melt gold for now, but he has an idea that might work. And since the kid helped him unlock the mana cultivation technique, he'd return the favor. Wait, what? He just said melting gold was hard, but now there's this bright golden pot right there. And the kid's saying he thinks they should stop this, but Kim tells him to just obey. The moment he takes a sip of that gold, his power will increase a lot. All he has to do is drink it and feel how the body responds. Okay, but seriously, what even is that liquid? Last time I checked, gold needs to be superheated to melt, right? But this nutjob decides to go for it and takes a sip. Right away, he feels something different, drops to his hands and knees, and a golden aura surrounds his body. The protagonist asks what he thinks, and the kid is all emotional, saying it really feels real. This effect was way better than him burning millions in gold, and he doesn't even know how to thank Kim for such a valuable piece of info. Then he seems to get an idea and hands him a necklace. Kim, being the sly dog he is, asks what it is, though he very well knows it's an artifact that contains a healing ability. The kid says he's sure his god will be happy if Kim accepts it. Acting all shy, he accepts, but inside he's thinking, what an idiot, fell right into the plan. Then he remembers, this guy's faction hands out tons of good quests. He grabs the boy's hands and says he's ready to make a prayer to this generous god of his. 1 week later, we're back at his house. Looks like they really are melting gold. But the poor friend is exhausted from having to keep drinking gold. Man, I wish this guy had a name. His actual name is Priest Kim. But our protagonist is Warrior Kim, so we can't just call him Kim. Let's call this guy Adrian, sounds good. And our boy is trying to give Adrian more mana potions, but Adrian says he can't raise his power too fast or he'll get corrupted. Kim, on the other hand, makes a cute face and says, that just means it won't happen. Then he grabs Adrian's face and makes him drink more melted gold. He knows it's impossible for the guy to be affected, because he has a trait that blocks all types of mana corruption. Finally, the bottles are empty and suddenly Adrian's entire body starts glowing gold. Our boy even has to cover his face from the blinding light. And just like that, the guy awakens as a level 3 bishop. He's stunned. At level 3, he could even get his own apostle. Kim praises him and says he's not far from becoming an apostle of the religion's god. Adrian, all embarrassed, says he's not that strong yet. Then Kim says he'll have to go to a regional convent of the assembly to get officially recognized as a bishop. Adrian thanks him, saying it's all thanks to Kim. He'll never forget this debt. And of course, Kim's like, I only did it for our friendship. But inside, he's already planning to use this guy to get numbers, items, unlock everything. Adrian, a bit unsure, asks Kim to come with him as a bodyguard. Kim says sure, don't worry. He accepts because this is part of the next chapter of the game's main story, and he's strong enough now. The next day, they're at a church under construction, basically abandoned. Some of Adrian's friends are congratulating him, saying it's incredible that he reached level 3. Our boy is low-key shocked. This church really is broke, and barely anyone even showed up. Then suddenly someone opens the door and says this whole thing is a disgraceful sight. It's a bishop from the order, showing up just to scold everyone, asking who gave Adrian permission to organize an assembly. Confused, Adrian says any member of the order has the right to organize one. But the old man says that rule doesn't apply to him because he's an apostate. I had to look that one up. An apostate is someone who betrayed or abandoned their religion. And the guy's saying that because Adrian hit level 3 in just 3 months, which is impossible using normal methods. Adrian tries to defend himself, saying he just found an efficient way to level up. But the old man orders him to be arrested, saying he won't listen to any excuses. Man, good thing he asked our boy for backup. Kim steps forward and says they can't just harm his friend like that. They ask who he is, and without hesitation, our boy says, "I'm his bodyguard." The old man says it'd be best if Kim didn't get involved in matters of the order. But Kim replies that as someone acting as Adrian's bodyguard, he's very much involved in all of this. That's when Adrian reveals that he drank gold and asks them to trust him. But the old man, of course, says that's clearly a violation of faith. The poor kid tries to explain that in his faith, gold is allowed. But the old guy's already prepping a fireball, saying he's going to personally purify the sins Adrian has committed. The fire is launched straight at the kid. Boom, an explosion goes off and everyone's shocked. But obviously, our boy Kim stepped in, shielding him with his barrier. He says that attacking without warning like that is the real blasphemy. The old man is shocked that the bodyguard actually blocked his attack. And Kim adds that you can't just attack a candidate for apostle like that. The old man shouts that a heretic like Adrian could never be a true apostle of that place. Even Adrian hesitates a little. He's shaken. But Kim just picks up a little piece of gold, hands it over, and tells him, "Eat it and pray." The old man raises his voice again, warning Kim to get out of the way or be burned together with the boy. But our protagonist calmly asks, "And what will you do if this boy proves he's a real apostle? Right now?" Before the old man can answer, our dear Adrian is already glowing, golden light pouring out of him. That glow is the true sign of an apostle being born. And it turns out, Kim didn't hand him that piece of gold by accident. Because the old man in front of them, he's totally incompetent. Obviously jealous, hating Adrian, and what better way to get rid of him than accusing him of heresy and purging him right there. But the condition for Adrian to awaken as an apostle was, he had to eat a piece of gold from another order. Even if they call it blasphemy. No one can deny he's turning into a true apostle now. When Adrian opens his eyes, man, he's got the angelic halo, golden eyes, the full heavenly package. Kim points his sword at the crowd and says, "Now you've got yourselves a real apostle, and it's time to teach a lesson to anyone who stood against him." Right, our boy asks what the punishment is for a bastard who tried to assassinate another fellow bishop purely out of envy. Even worse, accusing him of being a heretic. Adrian is kind of there not knowing what to say. And man, apparently he communicated with the god of that religion, who said it's to kill this one. In 1 second, Kim already has the sword at the old man's neck, saying that if it's the divine order, there's no way to deny it. Dude, did he actually kill him? What the hell? Yeah, that one's down for good. The poor warriors couldn't do anything, while the other priests are all holding their faces, shocked. Kim, on the other hand, has a big smile on his face. He killed the villain before he could start doing his violence and messing up his life. Adrian tries to say that this was wrong, especially because the guy at that moment when he died was still a bishop. Our boy just tells him not to worry and asks what his God is telling him to do. Now that's an easy life, huh? Just say it. "Hey, God, what do I do?" And God literally says, "Oh, you do this." "All right, no problem. Help me out too. I want something like that." And Adrian says that God told him to go to the Levant region where his first order started and offer him more gold. Our boy says that, just like he warned, gold is the solution. Now he was supposed to follow these tips and increase his influence. While Adrian thanks him happily, the bastard had that smile on his face. Now he created a little monster who's the head of the order and is gonna keep offering a bunch of gold to that god and get super strong. Then the boy says that before leaving though, and wants to give a gift from the warehouse. The bastard smiles and says he doesn't mean anything like that, that would be too much. But sometime later, there it is, a glowing statue, and the sword looked like it was getting buffed. Oh, actually, it's a sacred sword. I thought it was just his sword getting buffed, but no. It's a special one from the church that's worth a few billion. Besides that, a divine statue that around it grants the status of sanctuary. The sanctuary is a barrier around a certain place that reacts to the owner's will. If he wants to expel intruders, for example, there can be a suppression effect or literally an expulsion from the area. That's good for him, since now he can train with even more peace of mind without worrying about getting exhausted and someone showing up and catching him worn out. Finally, he could go back to having fun. Already in the bathroom, man, he built this underground house that looks like a Tony Stark mansion. But man, the artist overdid it. He looks all skinny, saying he trained a bit more than he should have. Even with the help of the sacred spring, he wasn't managing to stay 100%. But then the expression changes when he's there, right bro? Full-on Giga Chad with his black energy sphere, testing like he's Gojo. His mana proficiency and skill with the sword just keep increasing. It was time to take a look at the results of that hard work. He messaged that guy from work saying he needs to warm up and move his body a bit. And because of that, he wants to know if there's any requests the guy needs help with. The guy says yes, and it's a big job. That's because, yeah, it's going to involve once again that place where everything began. Our guy already knows he's talking about the place where that weird porcupine showed up, and says he'll never forget that place. Then the old man explains that a whole team went there to do a cleanup, and no one came back. That means there are at least 6 mutants at the same time. Kim says obviously whether he's going or not depends on the reward. The old man reveals that, unfortunately, the reward was kind of bad. 100 for a level 1 mutant and 300 for a level 3 mutant. Or you could also get an arcane rifle, but had a debuff. The protagonist wants to know what that debuff is. And the guy says it's a debuff given by that Damiander saint. And with that, the bastard already wants it right away. He knows that this debuff is the one that puts that sacred divine fire on you. But since he already overcame that, it's no problem at all. Out of nowhere, the bastard gains like 70 kilos of muscle and says, alright, he's going. From the stadium, a dark aura was coming out. And our boy, after all that training, was walking in with an M4 in hand. Where's the sword, my guy? He's there holding his nose. Man, this M4 is chunky, huh? Looks like balloon ribbon. He's trying to use his sensitivity and focus traits, but it's hard to locate anything. And amidst the smoke all around, there seemed to be some figures passing by. The monster sounds were coming from all directions, but he couldn't really tell where from. That's when he feels something approaching from behind. When he turns around, he sees a giant bat coming in for the attack and opens fire. Listen to the sound of that rifle, bro, blasting the big guy who had to run off like crazy. But our boy's got aimbot and hits the wings, hits the back, hits everything. Damn, but that bastard over there, man, has bulletproof wings. That monster's modern, and now he's charging back in for another attack. Kim manages to dodge, but the monster leaves a purple trail and is already circling back again. The flying, bulletproof monster was just gonna stall for time, so he needed to finish it fast. I thought because of that he'd switch to the sword, but there he was again, aiming with his rifle. He needed a precise shot. Landing a headshot like that. Share that sensitivity setting with us, man. The problem is the monster died and died right on top of him. But the dude really did gain the aimbot trait there, bro. He didn't even get out from under the monster, and he's already celebrating, saying it was worth it. But obviously there were 6 mutants and the smoke around was still spreading. Considering how tough the first one was, he already knows he won't be able to beat them all at once. Suddenly his expression changes and he says maybe he actually can. Time passes and he's there all hidden, watching a corpse. Using playing dead and stealth, he wasn't easy to spot. That's when a zombie that looked more like a big slime shows up staring at the dead bat. And here comes this modern bastard with his hand grenades, man. And the grenades were even invisible, thrown in the monster's direction, and obviously, right, everything exploded in front of him. The king of Call of Duty already pulled his M4 and laid down the spray, bro. Yeah, those poor slimes, right, they all got split up and dropped to the ground. And the guy walks up saying these modern tactics really are great, but that's just the look of the fashion dummy. Around him, there was another bunch of zombies. And the weirdest thing is that they didn't make a sound approaching, and that's why he ended up stuck in the middle of them. Then he realizes that those weren't mutants, they were specters from a necromancer. Some Jinwoo you around here, my guy. And the problem is there were tons of them. And weirdly, one of the corpses kind of had a speaker on its back, and it calls out to the superhuman, asking to have a little chat. Kim's kind of confused, like, why is a specter talking? Then he notices, obviously, right, there was a speaker, they're talking to him. But that makes it clear the person talking to him is the necromancer who created the specters. And the guy says he wants to know why he's causing so much destruction in his territory. Kim is a bit confused. Why is this crazy dude calling a contaminated factory his territory? That's when he remembers something. This bastard has selective amnesia. All it takes is receiving a bit of information and the memories come flooding in. He then talks about the Janitor Association. With those 2 badass women in the background, I'm already hyped to meet this association, right? Because when it comes to healthy friends, this story is seriously lacking. On the surface, though, people think this janitor group is perfect for cleaning places that were heavily contaminated by mana. But that's just a front. They use the influence they have to expand the dirty power they possess. Most likely that incident where 6 people died. They were behind it all. They probably forced the situation to create something the government would have no choice, but to ask for their help and that way expand the power they hold. The necromancer on the radio says our boy is really talented because he doesn't forget this pointless fight and joins the janitor group. Kim is honest and wants to know why he would ever join a group that wants to mutate everyone and destroy this whole place. The guy tells him to consider it, saying that with the skills he has, he'd be one of the strongest. But boom, take that middle finger, kid. Kim says that place doesn't match his vibe. They weren't cool enough. The guy replies that it's fine then, if he's not going to join then he'll just become a corpse. The mobs come running at him, but our boy's got aimbot now, man. It's a mag, a grenade, and the place is clean. The guy even says, come on and slowly, there's plenty of ammo. But oof, now he's really gonna need a lot of ammo. because the monsters are regenerating. The idiot forgot that in this game, firearms are useless against specters. But if there's something that would fit like a glove right now, it's a sacred sword, which he just so happened to have gotten right. The poor necromancer already realizes he's screwed and wants to know where he got that from. But without even answering, Kim starts slicing everything and warns that soon he'll find whoever is summoning this and they're going to die. The specters are getting cut down left and right. Obviously, with the pile of attributes our boy has, creatures like this were super easy. The problem is it's not going to stop as long as the guy has mana, so he's activating all his resistance and durability traits. Look at our little beast all geared up. He's getting healing from that necklace. He's got the sacred sword and even a magic glove. With all that, he charges forward again, lands about 4 strikes, gets stuck for a moment, and realizes that even though he's killing well, he's not able to wipe them all out in one go. He keeps fighting and starts feeling a bit dizzy. Even with all the recovery, he was running out of energy and decides to try and end this once and for all. So he charges forward full on, gaining the dash trait. It seems pretty good from the excited look on his face. Man, he starts spamming, dashing from one side to the other, slashing everything. And when he uses dash upward, he ends up getting the jump trait. With that, he's hyped that now escaping this place will be easy. The guy's all floaty. It's jump, dash, just cutting through everything. But obviously, this wasn't free, and not long after, he's exhausted. At least most of the specters were now down on the ground. The head on the ground says he never expected the boy to be a paladin of the order. Now he's even more curious to know exactly who he is. Kim tells him to show himself. He's so eager to meet him. The specter's not that dumb and says he's not an idiot to face a warrior head-on. They'll just keep playing with his summons until his mana runs out and then he'll leave. With that, he summons a level 2 corpse that's a shield bearer. The problem for Kim is that he barely had time to recover and his mana is still low. The creature smashes a hammer and Kim dodges to the side. Then comes a purple arrow, bam, hits him right in the nape. The guy realizes he's under a coordinated attack, and the necromancer on the ground says he's impressed that his movements are pretty decent. He really is going to make a great corpse. He thought the arrow was going to do something more, but our boy just pulled the arrow out of his neck and kept moving like it was nothing, while remembering that the rule in Arcane Soul was, if you're fighting a necromancer, you can't fight their summons. Funny how he says that, and the first thing he does is jump straight at the golem. The guy is the king of bait. He lands in front and slides under its legs. Then he looks around, trying to find where that came from, and sees a flash to the left. There was the bastard surrounded by arrows who'd been attacking him. In the same second, he's already activating his rush to sprint toward the guy. He finds a long-haired guy and says that now he's screwed. From the face alone, our boy recognizes him instantly. That's an A-rank necromancer known as Charon, one of the directors of the Jandra group and also the final boss of this part of the game. Charon raises his arms and tells the boy to give up, that things won't go the way he thinks. Then some arms like Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man pop out and grab our boy from all sides. He couldn't move his arms or get out of place, and Charon says he'll never be able to reach him. Man, hands, arrows, lightning, what is this? And the guy doesn't stop. He's already forming a sphere of evil fire, saying that now he's gonna burn and scream. Yet our boy is clearly realizing that if he just keeps taking hits, he won't survive, especially since the guy's about to use black fire. The guy basically made a freaking Genkidama and says this is the end. Kim is trying to break free by slicing one of the hands with his sword, but Charon is just laughing. Strangely, the guy pauses for a second and our boy says he never needed to be in front of him anyway. The scene shows the traits he has equipped. Maybe he's gonna dash forward and slash with the sword. From the traits, that's what it looks like. And Charon fires off the Genkidama, telling him to shut up and die. Seeing the attack coming, Kim says the moment has arrived. He had reached the perfect trinity between swordsmanship, mana capacity, and physical endurance. And when that happens, and he's in a life-threatening situation, he activates the ability that allows him to cut through other abilities. He slashes and Charon can't believe it. That was the flash trait. To be honest, flash is usually a movement ability. But in our guy's case, it was a crescent moon slash that split the dude in half like Photoshop. And the skill description says it's the strongest swordsmanship trait, and only those who reach the peak can master it. But honestly, that thing looked more like Getsuba Tensho from Bleach. Explosion all over the place, and our boy falls to the ground, totally drained. But at least it was worth it. He killed a level 3 superhuman. Normally in the game, to beat this guy, you need a full party. And obviously, it would have been impossible if he didn't have those perfect items to fight that guy and all the right traits. He gets up knowing that this was only possible thanks to his 10,000 hours of gameplay. But now, tongue hanging out, it's time for the only part that matters, loot and payout. Back at the company, the boss is even fanning himself, saying the boy is amazing and that he can always count on him. What our boy is pretending to be hurt, right? There are already 2 chumps behind him, and for sure they're the guys who came to pay him. The team there is thanking our guy, saying they're impressed he actually handled it all on his own. But Kim says to save the thanks for later and tells them that when he went in there, something completely different happened. He throws a bunch of radios and cameras on the floor and asks if they recognize that. The old man instantly recognizes it. That was used by Charon from the janitor group. And Kim says exactly that. This incident wasn't an accident. It was the janitor group's doing. And the guy slams the table, shouting that those bastards are scum. They always charge a ridiculously high price and cause problems. But even though they had some conflicts, you never imagined those guys would turn innocent people into zombies just to get more jobs. Now that's why I call a dedicated employee man. That guy really wants to work. And Kim realized that the guy had no idea about any of this. Now it makes sense. That's why the janitor group could act without anyone stopping them. The guy apologizes, saying our boy risked his life big time because of them. But as always, right, the dude tells him not to worry. It's his job to take out the villains. Though on the inside, you better know it really was tough and paying well. Briefcase slammed on the table. Extra reward, just like they promised. Ah, now they're giving a pistol, huh? Earlier, they said it was supposed to be a rifle with arcane energy, but fine, I'll let it slide. And on the right, there was some holy water. It probably gives experience or something like that. Our boy looks happy, and it's something he was going to have to buy anyway. So now it saves him money. The old man says that with the evidence he provided, they plan to accuse the janitor group, but he better be careful. Kim replies that he knows they're going to try to retaliate against the one who started all this. But he says not to worry. He'll find a way to survive. On the way back, the boss tells him to keep a low profile for a while, since he's going to become a target. But the guy's bold and says hiding is never the best idea. As soon as the player advances in the game, he starts receiving missions to take down the janitor group, so those conflicts are inevitable. And now that he killed the director, there's nothing he can do anymore. No matter where he hides, those guys will track him down. The tricky part is that there are multiple paths the player can take to deal with these guys. And obviously, the worst one of all is doing nothing and letting them grow stronger and more prepared. Eventually, the president of the organization, along with tons of superhumans, will attack the player's house. But there's another route he knows that's way easier. He then asks the guy beside him if he knows a place called Jianbubong. The guy says yes, it's a forbidden area located in the south. Apparently there's a flower field there and anyone looking for trouble just needs to go there. Our boy already says that place is funded by the janitor group. And those poppies they're producing there, the flowers are used in some body modification experiments and human trafficking operations going on. In the end, if you dig deep enough, you'll find out they're just a regular criminal organization like any other, with no morals at all. The boss says they're scumbags that need to be wiped out, and our boy says that's exactly why he's going to attack that place. Obviously, the guy hits the brakes right away and tells him to explain himself. But our guy already sent over a full Call of Duty item list as usual. He wants claymores, he wants grenades, he wants bombs. The boss says he needs to understand that's going to cost a fortune. But money isn't a concern anymore for our boy. He hands over the briefcase saying it has all the items he looted from that last place. The boss says fine, he gets it. He's really going through with this. But warns him that he doesn't think he has a chance of winning against that entire place by himself. The president is a level 4 superhuman, and the two baddest women right behind him are level 3 executives. Our guy says not to worry, he never said he was going to fight alone. For now, though, the boss just needs to worry about getting the items on the list. And I like it this way, man. We skip ahead 2 days, and now it's time for the invasion. The chumps are out there keeping watch around the place, when a hand comes from behind and smack, hits one in the back of the neck. He hits the ground, another one aims and asks who's there, but bam. Takes one to the stomach too, and goes down. What the hell, man, this stealth from our boy is more like invisibility. He was standing right in front of them landing hits. The guy even says that infiltrating places is his favorite part. It's always fun showing up and smacking clueless idiots. At least now the guards were taken care of. He just had to keep going toward the underground area. But damn, he notified the Steel Fist gang, called the whole gang in man. And the boss says those bastards really are a bunch of villains. They were forcing body modifications on people, and trafficking the ones that turned out well. They really deserve to be wiped out. Kim asks if he took a look at the place. And the guy says yeah, he found the room with a bunch of stuff for doing modifications. Our boy says that if he keeps helping, he can keep that stuff to power up his own people later. The boss asks if he's really sure he can take down the janitor group. If they survive, it's going to be a huge headache for the whole gang. Kim tells him not to worry. He never moves without a plan. In front of all those plants, I already forgot the name. He says that's where they make the most money. They left it really poorly guarded. And it's exactly because of that they're gonna start going bankrupt. He set the whole thing on fire, and by morning, the sun was rising. Someone was running through the halls calling for the president. He tells the guy by the window that the Jianbubong hideout was attacked. That bastard really does look like a final boss and tells him to explain it properly. The guy explains it properly, right? The Jianbubong hideout was attacked. What else do you want him to say, damn it? Then the boss slams his fist on the table, wanting to know who the bastard was that dared to attack them like that. That guy's Park Dae-yup. He's the president of the janitor group, a level 4 superhuman. The guy's trembling while handing something over and says the person sent this. Man, our boy even sent an Instagram story with everything blowing up, tons of emojis. The guy smashes the phone, saying that Bastard is begging to be torn apart. When the crew went to check on the farm's condition, man, everything had been completely burned down. They trust the boss so much they're thinking the kid must be insane and has a death wish. But then the bald guy says that before the president gets involved, they need to show why they work for the janitor group. The crew's fired up, saying that the second they see that kid, they're blowing his head off. But that's when they notice there's a gun aimed from a window. The bald guy, man, he's got aimbot, fires a shot and apparently took out whoever was up there. The chumps start praising him, but obviously it wasn't gonna be that easy, man. Suddenly, something explodes behind him. What the hell, man? Our boy showed up with an American-style attack, dropping airstrikes on everyone. You just see cameras blowing up, he's exhausted. He spent the whole night planning all of this, but it was worth it. After placing tons of hidden traps, he even got a trait that makes them even harder to detect. As strong as he was, he's not stupid enough to face hundreds of people head-on. First, he's gonna kill everything he can from the shadows, safely tucked away. The whole place is being devastated by explosions. Nearby, the janitor group boss is just watching from inside his barrier, saying the kid might look like a fool, but he really prepared well, just like you'd expect from someone bold enough to provoke them. Then someone steps forward. It's that cyborg guy who says not to worry. He's already analyzed the tactics and is going to handle it. Excuse me? When they first showed the janitor group, there were two gorgeous women behind the boss. Where are they now? Don't come at me with this ugly-ass cyborg. Then the boss says to bring the kid in alive. He wants to make him suffer a lot before he dies. One of them throws a grenade ahead and says it's safe over there. The plan was to keep tossing grenades non-stop to make sure everything in front got blown to bits. But what he didn't know, this man, is that this is an American-style attack, bro. More was coming from above. What the hell? That cyborg dude just slapped the missile to the side seriously. He asks if they've located the guy, and the others say yes. He's up on the roof. They blow up the missile launcher that was up there, and with that, they start advancing, saying that as soon as they enter the building, that kid's done for. He's probably already shaking in fear. But when they entered the building, our boy was bored. And just like he expected, these cyborgs are harder to deal with than regular people. The alarms are blaring, and he says it's really just like in the game. This was one of those missions that wipes out all the beginners. Cut to a scene where everything's blown up and people are arriving. Ah, fellas, I told you the baddest girls were coming. Welcome. Sure, they're villains, but will our protagonist actually kill them? I'm sad now, he usually kills the villains. And the names of the two are Ebony and Viper. They're calling our boy out for some fun. Only thing is, he's not in the control room anymore. Or actually, he is there, but pretending to be dead in a hiding spot. The fools are trying to hunt him down, wanting to know where the bastard is. Oh man, and he already knew that was their plan. They faked going through the front door, but they were just buying time for those two to infiltrate. And now that he's figured out all their tactics, it's time to end this. When the two looked to the side, the Call of Duty king had already thrown more than one flashbang. The fools realized they fell into a trap. Ah, he could have just slashed their necks, or maybe not. That'd be kinda cruel. Instead, he just slipped right through the middle. The baddies are yelling, saying that Bastard is gonna die once they catch him. But he's already running, sprinting up the stairs at lightning speed. He knows they'll be on him any second. They won't stop, so he has to be quick. Bullets are already whizzing past him, and he switches his traits to defense and mana shield. The guy puts up a giant barrier in the hallway, and the baddest girls show up. They're firing nonstop at the guy, but he just smiles, saying those bullets won't do a thing. Whoa! The purple-haired one asks if he really thinks that. Suddenly, one of the bullets starts cracking the barrier. It shatters instantly. Damn, the guy gets blasted back by the explosion and crashes to the ground like trash. The girls, super malicious, say that every bullet they fire is always infused with explosion magic, so he better watch out. The other one fires an arrow, saying he should accept that this is the end. Oh damn, bullseye. My guy forgot how to dodge out of nowhere. He drops to his knees, but she tells him not to suffer too much, because the pain coming next is going to be much worse. But our boy gives a thumbs up, saying they're just two little thugs in latex suits. I don't get it now, and he takes a kick to the face. What's the guy's big plan? He always has some sneaky idea. He crashes into the clock, hits the ground like an idiot, and one of them gets close, saying it looks like he's going to last quite a while. One grabs him by the collar and says they're taking him to the president. But then the little smirk appears, and that's when the plan starts. He says they're right where he wanted them. Then he asks if they recognize the sound coming from that clock. In the blink of an eye, he activates sprint again and dashes away, saying it sure sounds like a bomb. Obviously, this whole time he's been getting beat up like an idiot on purpose. He deactivated his traits to lure them close. All because inside that clock there was a bomb he spent $1 billion to get. He flashes a cheeky smile at them. This night's gonna be long. The poor girls think about running, but without sprint, there's no way. The whole floor gets wiped out in the explosion. Our boy didn't get far, he's just nearby resting now. He equipped all of his recovery traits to try and patch himself up a bit. But we're getting close now, and he needs to stay sharp. Yep, it was fast. Everyone's already right in front of him, including the boss. Our boy gets up, saying speak of the devil, and he appears. Oh, wait, it's not the boss. It's that phony cyborg guy. And man, our beloved Ebony and Viper just turned into puddles of blood. Come on, Lothar, how could you do this? They were the only baddest girls in the whole story, and you just wiped them out like that. Now, the only option is to wait for that saint to go full Yandir and fall in love with our boy, but honestly, I don't think that's gonna happen. Right then, our guy tells the cyborg that soon enough they're all gonna end up just like her. The guy, true to his name, says the boy's body will be modified until he begs for forgiveness. Our boy says that really is a cruel threat, but he still wants to stay human. The cyborg says talking to him is a waste of time, and with that, everyone pulls out their weapons. Just as the villain's about to say something else, our boy, obviously, had already set up another bomb. Actually, it was a bunch of EMPs, those things that shut down energy, connection, everything electronic. And obviously, since everyone there was a cyborg, they were screwed. The Call of Duty king, as always, starts unloading shots, saying that with the EMPs and his shotgun, taking out these robots is gonna be easy. The poor immobilized ones really didn't stand a chance. They just got shot up. But something catches Kim's attention. That damn cyborg king was still standing there and looked completely untouched. Kim wonders just how much money that bastard spent on his body to be that resistant. Then the guy charges in, saying it's a shame, but he's going to end the boy right here and now. With the first strike, he knocks the shotgun right out of Kim's hands. He goes for a second swing, asking if Kim's just gonna keep dodging. Realizing he couldn't overpower the guy, the protagonist decides to focus on agility. He manages to land a clean hit on the ribs, but obviously, it does 0 damage. Our boy says that apparently the bastard's entire body is made of metal, at least from what he can see. The guy grabs the sword and says that was a dumb move, then powers up a booster in his legs and delivers a massive kick. This one's Geno's from One Punch Man, decided to copy the bald master and everything. Problem is, our boy gets slammed into the wall, explodes like a piece of trash, and gets hit again before he can recover. The guy warns him he's not gonna win with that weak body of his. While getting crushed, our boy just manages to curse and call him a filthy machine. Meanwhile, he's wondering how the hell a robot is using mana-based attacks. Then the guy extends his blade and says he's gonna rip his arms off and replace them with umbrellas. I don't know if that's some kind of fetish, but hey, that's what he said. That's when Kim pulls out a little pistol and the guy asks what he thinks that cute little thing's gonna do. What the chump doesn't know is that's the pistol he got earlier with the weapon buff. Kim tells the idiot it's not just any gun. Then he fires a shot using black fire, which hits the guy's blade dead on. And in the same second, the black fire starts spreading across his entire body. Kim explains that black fire is made to burn mana, and since the guy's a cyborg powered by mana, obviously this was destroying him. Now he was paying the price for modifying his whole body to work like that. The cyborg is writhing on the ground while Kim holds his sword up and says goodbye. Boom, another one down. Our boy's not sparing anyone, man. Then he turns around and says now there's only one step left. Still sad that those 2 well-drawn girls are gone, right guys? It was short, but it was sweet. And the FPS king, right? He heads up to the rooftop, grabs the M4 with the scope, and starts picking off everyone outside. He's celebrating with that cute little face, saying all that screaming is music to his ears. But apparently, that music didn't last long. Now he's holding his ears like they're about to explode. Yeah, man, he was probably wondering why the final boss theme was playing. The president of the janitor group, a level 4 superhuman, had arrived, and told him to stay right where he was. Well, actually, he was still down below, just talking. But now he's already jumped up, landing right in front of our guy. He's already freaking out because the bastard just jumped an entire building. The boss says that never in his life has he gone through such humiliation, so the boy would be punished. Before he could even respond, man, the guy already came in swinging, punched him right in the face. Kim tries to draw his sword to defend himself. But the bastard must be testing all the walls in the place, man, got slammed into one again. He says he only survived because the moment he saw the guy charging in, he spent a millisecond switching to defense traits. He launches the bleach-style slash right at the guy, but the man dodges it with style, bro. Turns and says he's got some interesting abilities. Kim's already firing the pistol now, meaning, yeah, he's desperate. He's using everything he's got. But the guy raised a mana shield and didn't seem bothered at all. Before our boy could even think of what to do next, here he comes again. Hits him with a full combo. Punch to the chest, ribs, head. Back again to his natural habitat. Face down on the ground getting beat up. The boss wants to know if that's really all he's got. Kim looks pretty discouraged, saying it really seems impossible. There's no way he can beat Park Dae-op right now, who's been an SR ranked character since the start. He, on the other hand, is one of the most basic types, and the level gap between the two is huge. The boss wants to know if the kid's gonna try anything else. And Kim asks, doesn't he want to know how the subordinates were taken down? They were killed with regular bombs, EMPs, and bullets. The boss replies that he doesn't care about that. Being prepared for him, on the other hand, that was impossible. But then a smile creeps onto Kim's face and he says it's not quite like that. The boss's expression changes, man. Here it comes. He activates the mutant talent. Been a while since we've seen that one, huh? His whole body starts mutating, muscles growing, stretching, and now he's all red and 2 meters tall. This was his mutant form as a level 2 superhuman. The boss is stunned that the lunatic actually accepted becoming a mutant like that. Meanwhile, Kim's just trying to focus on staying conscious for now. He'd already prepared everything he needed. A key piece of this puzzle was the Berserker glasses. Basically, it gives the Madman trait for a short period of time, but it was the perfect item to unlock the trait he needed most in this moment. He crushes the glasses in his hand and obtains the Frenzy ability. That cleared his mind of any distraction and made his body and mind 100% focused on the fight, even though it's an ability where you kind of lose control. When you use it, especially as a mutant, you're so out of control that you kind of regain control, you get it. It's like less out of control than usual. Don't know if that makes sense. But if not, whatever, because he's already charging in to punch the boss. The guy tries to block and easily does. He says he doesn't know what the kid's trying to pull, but none of it is going to help. Then he activates a rage ability and his muscles bulk up too. Man, this place is all about that Trembolona. The guy comes in with a punch saying now the fun's gonna start. And Kim, now motivated, says this is exactly what he wanted. A fair brawl, bro, face-to-face beatdown. They're going crazy, just throwing fists like it's UFC night. Pulling JoJo-style moves, fists flying everywhere. Another one lands on the boss's face and throws him to the side. And right in the middle of the brawl, our boy obtains the traits Super Strength and Steel Armor. While a message says the battle-induced mind wipe is taking over his consciousness, our boy celebrates, saying the day's turning out perfect. Meanwhile, the boss walks forward and admits he's never had a fight this good. But now it's over because his analysis is complete and victory is guaranteed. Kim tries to land a punch while the guy's distracted, telling him to quit bluffing, but the guy dodges. Our boy's surprised by that and tries another hit, but the guy was really dodging everything. After missing like 4 or 5 punches, he takes a solid one to the gut. Suddenly, it's full-on UFC, and he goes for a cross. But the guy ducks and comes back with an uppercut right to the chin. Obviously, even transformed man, he's not gonna break the habit of flying backwards onto the ground. He realizes that in this crazy fight, he's the one losing. And on top of that, the effect of the frenzy ability was starting to wear off. Since it was inevitable that it'd end, he had to use everything he had left in a single move. He decides to give up on close-range combat. He quits a cultivation technique and a human heart technique. The boss, biting his lip, wants to know what trick he's pulling this time. And just as Kim's about to do something, the guy comes in swinging again. But Kim manages to grab his arm, toss him aside, and prep something in his hand. Then tells the boss that from the very start, he was never a fighter. He's a swordsman. His arm starts transforming and a blade forms in place of his hand. The boss is a bit confused, obviously, and before he can escape, bam, he takes a hit to the gut. Blood sprays out and the boss realizes Kim used the flash ability to strike out of nowhere. What he doesn't get is how this kid has so many wildly different skills. Kim just pulls out the blade and says it really was a good fight. The poor boss stumbles back, calls him a monster, and collapses. The problem is, our boy pushed himself way too far. A status window pops up warning that his body is going through changes. His red-tinted eye starts to fade, and he starts screaming in pain. Not clear if he's going insane or what's happening. A golden aura suddenly appears and rises into the sky, and Kim starts de-transforming. Ah, the rascal. He didn't just return to normal. He advanced to level 3 superhuman. He says he only managed to get through that because he evolved at just the right time. He really was a lucky bastard. Then he drops to the ground and sleeps like a baby, right there on the asphalt. Sometime later, when he wakes up, he's submerged at his base, a dangerous situation. Ah, all good. It was the bald guy from the company who gave him the mission who put him there. He's already hugging our boy, super happy that he's okay. Our boy tells him to calm down, but the guy's all worried, saying he thought he died because of that cursed janitor association. But our boy, looking at his own hand, tells him to relax. He recovered just fine. Then the boss praises him, saying it's insane how he wiped out the janitors all by himself. Ever since that happened, the company's been getting calls left and right. The bastard won't stop hyping him up, gives him a thumbs up, saying he's amazing and all that, and says that after Kim passed out, he collected everything left at the scene. So if he ever needs anything, just say the word. But Kim replies that now that he's level 3, he has somewhere important to go. A week passes. There he is again, standing in front of the mana measuring device. And this time, the result, a level 3 warrior with 6 circuits. With that, he could get the official certificate and tons of benefits. Backsoaring is there, congratulating him, saying he's really a very talented superhuman. He's standing there awkwardly, while she tells him he's the future of the nation. Out of nowhere, he starts showing off a little, saying he's just excited to get his certificate, that's all. A bit later, in another room, she hands it over and says she's jealous of him. He asks why she's jealous, and she says there are tons of reasons. But the main one is that she wishes she were as strong as him. Kim finds that a bit weird. Baek usually isn't the kind of person who shows much emotion. Considering her in-game character, it wouldn't even make sense for her to act like that. But here comes the madman again, wanting to mess with the entire timeline, Seems like he doesn't have much else to do right now, so he asks her if she wants to become a superhuman. She says yes, of course, wouldn't want something like that. He then offers for her to become his student. If she accepted, he guaranteed she'd become a superhuman. She wants to know how, but he just stretches out his little hand and tells her not to worry. He guarantees it because he can see the potential in her. "Ah, you sneaky dog. You're trying to charm this girl with your smile, aren't you?" She's standing there all awkward, wanting to know what kind of potential he's talking about. Obviously, right, the potential he's referring to is the fact that he knows the future and that she's going to become super strong. After all, she was an SSR character in the game. He wants to hear her answer and she pauses to think for a second. Then, blushing, she gives him her little hand saying okay, because she trusts him. "Ah, I said she was kind of plain before, right? But this girl is growing on me, man." The Pokemon catcher celebrates and shakes her hand, saying it was a very wise decision. It's time to train an SSR character to join his party. Then, a bit hesitant, she says she has to warn him. She's already been through dedicated training classes and still couldn't awaken, so it's going to be tough. But the guy tells her not to worry, he has lots of information. He knows exactly how her awakening happens. The talent of the Celestial Star Assassin. Yeah, that name's a whole thing. That's the trait that means the incarnation of killing intent born in the bloodstained world. This is the first talent back soaring needs to awaken. And man, that talent gives plus 100% plus 1000% combat experience. Meaning, every time she joins a fight, she learns 10x more than a normal person. The problem is, since it's a berserker-type talent, every time she fights, there's a chance her mind gets corrupted. If she spends too much time in the battlefield, she becomes a mindless killer. And Bakes seems to have a backstory just like that where she awakened. Back in the present, he said she'll need to prepare first. She asks if he's talking about money or strength or what. He explains that she needs to prepare her mental strength more than anything else. Suddenly, someone enters the room saying he's being called to another meeting. The two of them will need to head to the 5th floor now. He's a bit confused, but seems to accept. Riding the elevator, he knows the higher the floor, the more important the people. And the 5th floor means someone level 5 is calling him. The problem is, he has no idea who's level 5 and would be interested in him. But the moment he walks in, man, look who it is. Woojin, the dude he himself helped create. The bastard's already level 5. Bro, the protagonist just got left in the dust. The guy's even congratulating him right for reaching level 3, and grabs his shoulders, saying he's really happy to see him there. But our boy is crushed that this bastard awakened out of nowhere and is already level 5. Still, he understands it makes sense. This guy has a strong family talent and had been training for a long time. He had mana strength built up, everything he didn't, and finally awakened. Then his friend gives him a gift, saying it's a kind of congrats. The guy thinks about declining until he sees the item has a mana-focused trait, something perfect for a warrior like him, since he uses mana. So he pats him on the shoulder, saying you should never refuse a gift from a sincere friend. But then Woojin says there's another reason he called him over, and asks if he can request a favor. Confused by the serious expression, he wants to know what this favor is all of a sudden. The guy then asks for a favor similar to the one he received. He has some friends who are suffering from divine fever, and they need help too. Naturally, the protagonist wants to know, did they get this curse from those church people? And he says yes. He has 4 friends who went through exactly what he did during their entire childhood. The protagonist thinks it's kind of strange, right? A whole group of friends all suffering like that. Then he remembers the 4 subordinates that used to stand by Woojin's side in the game. If it really is them, then this is the perfect opportunity to make things easier. So all angelic, he says of course he'll help. You can't just ignore someone in their time of need, right, my friend? The only thing he asks is to meet these people before beginning the treatment. Sometime later, at Woojin's house, the 4 fools had arrived. And just like the protagonist imagined, they're the 4 who will follow Woojin in the future. A bunch of high society kids who were affected by the hands of the church. It then says that to begin, he needs to know if they were all forced into baptism. The fools, of course, all say yes, while awkwardly wondering if a cure is possible. Kim says yes, just like he cured Woojin. He can cure them too. But it's a painful process and he wants to know if they can handle it. The fools are all glancing at each other, kind of excited, until suddenly they all shout at once that they'd do anything to overcome that cursed divine fever. Kim smiles and says if that's the case, then it's time to begin. Man, where are you pulling out those demon wings from? I don't remember that power, dude. 1 week passes. Good thing we already know everything that happened. Same trip as Woojin's. And now there they are, the 4 fools, fully awakened, smiling wide. Just like Kim expected. Since they were talented people, it wasn't that much trouble. They're all crying, thanking him and hugging our boy. That's when some people in the back appear and call him Professor. Probably the parents of those fools, right? Since they're all bowing now. And more importantly, they brought what really matters, a pile of gifts. All humble as always, he's thanking them, but look at this egghead behind him saying they're very generous. As he opens the boxes, man, the best thing about Hunter World is you only ever get loot. Boots with extreme speed trait, a helmet with detection ability, an axe with the rage ability, a shield with the Acropolis ability, whatever that is, and 2 nectars. 2 nectars. Man switched jobs already. Why begungeon hunting? Let's just awaken people and cure them. That's the real moneymaker. The families are asking if he liked everything right. He reins in his maniacal grin and turns around, saying he sincerely feels very grateful for all the gifts. On the inside, though, he's celebrating. Man, he got really lucky. But apparently, behind all this, he was waiting for a real reward. While thinking this, he's looking at 2 people who look similar. Then one of them approaches, asking if he wants to talk privately for a second. Our boy says yes, he wants a quick word with a representative of the galactic market. The man says not to worry. He'd do anything for someone who helped his child like that. Then Kim says he wants access to the underground gold mine the guy's company controls. The man looks startled and says they don't have anything like that. Certainly nothing under their possession, so it'd be impossible. But man, our boy pulls out the exact address of the building, the floor, the dimensions, and asks. If he goes there, there's really not going to be anything. The guy suddenly changes expression and says he has no idea how the boy knows that. But unfortunately, even for him, getting access to that would be very difficult. Kim promises he won't say a single word about anything he saw in that place. The dad is hesitant and our boy begs, saying all he wants is just one day, that's it. He promises he'll keep that secret forever. Scene cuts to a parking garage, one wall broken down. He's there with Soaring, who says she never would guess something like this was hidden there. He tells her to be grateful. She has no idea how hard it was to get access to that place, but that this is where she'll be able to awaken. She finds it kind of weird, wants to know why they're going to train in such a closed-off place like this. He just replies not to worry too much and says he guarantees it'll be fun. The truth is, he knows that this particular trait of hers is one of the hardest to awaken. Basically, you have to put the person in an extreme situation where they're fighting for their life. He's taking her into an extremely dangerous dungeon that the world doesn't even know about yet, and it's exactly there where she awakens in the future. The problem is, she's already shaking all over, saying this place is scary, dark, and smells awful. But in the middle of all her whining, something that looks like a bat or whatever the hell that thing is comes in for a bite. Actually, it was a claw, and she manages to dodge, but her glasses get destroyed instantly. Right away, she starts screaming for help from our boy. But he just tosses a sword next to her and says, training starts now. Obviously, she's confused, asking what the hell he means. He tells her to kill the zombie, and she says this is crazy. But our boy just says that if she fights for her life, she'll awaken. That's it. The zombie starts coming at her while she's still complaining, saying none of this makes sense. But the fear of getting bitten speaks louder, and she turns and slashes at the zombie man. Our boy is stunned. It was the weakest, most half-hearted swing he'd ever seen, and the sword still cut through the monster like butter. Even without having awakened yet, her natural talent was clear as day. The first zombie drops dead, and he says she started off really well. She, on the other hand, is complaining, saying that was way too risky. She could have died, and it seems like he's just out of his mind. He just tells her she did great, and she says yeah, but she's still not confident. On the flip side, she's now more sure than ever that she is ready for this. She asks again if it's really okay, and he just keeps walking while she nags him, saying he doesn't seem very worried about her safety. Another zombie appears, whip, gets its neck slashed, and drops dead. He's getting more and more impressed and asks if she studied fencing. She explains no, she just did some body strengthening training and never actually fought with a sword. Looks like she has a little bit of talent. Our boy's smiling all humble, saying yeah, she's got a bit of talent, just a bit. But on the inside, he's gritting his teeth, thinking this girl is way too overpowered. He had to train for weeks and weeks just to reach a fraction of that. They keep walking, and she's amazed at how much bigger this place is than she expected. How far were they going? He tells her not to worry, that the exit will appear soon. Probably a lie, right? Come on. What actually appears is someone attacking from the side. A zombie with a drill tries to stab her, but she dodges. She's a bit confused by this combo, like a mechanical zombie, and it looks like that thing was actually from the game he used to play on his phone. And man, she slashes the thing and its arm flies off. Then she finishes it, saying zombies like that should only use their hands. Boom, cut clean in half. Our boy's standing there stunned, saying she's doing way better than he expected. She says her body's kind of moving on its own. But she gets distracted and doesn't see the zombie, even without legs, bite her right on the calf. Our boy kicks it away, saying that bastard just ruined everything. She asks what's going to happen to her now, and our boy says it's over. Everyone knows what happens when you get bitten by a zombie. Her face already looks like it's starting to change, and the poor girl begs him to kill her before it's too late. But Kim apologizes. Obviously, the guy did bring a solution for this, right, man? A bit later, sitting against the wall, she says she was really scared. She thought she really was going to turn into that horrible thing. Then she mentions that the zombies in this place are kind of weird. The clothes they wear, the equipment, the way they move. Everything seems kind of artificial. Our boy says he agrees with her. This galaxy mall was built way faster than anyone would imagine, considering how vast it is. Something like this was only possible with a huge number of workers. Of course, a complex construction like this, packed with people working day and night, ended up costing a lot of lives. But if you check the death records for this construction, you'll see the total is 0. That's because during the project, whoever died was just buried with the cement. As always, right, Koreans taking capitalism to the next level. Obviously, eventually, all this started to come to light, and the owner of the mall project hid everything here inside this dungeon and basically sealed off the place. The poor girl responds, saying she never imagined a place like this had such a horrible story behind it. What she wants to know now is how he knows this secret. He's kind of standing there unsure, trying to figure out how to come up with a lie for that. The truth is, in the game, the people from the Church of the Crazies eventually release all the zombies to cause chaos in the city. That's how this mall dungeon gets open for the first time. But to lie to her, he just says he has a special ability that helps him find places like this. The problem for him now is he thought this place would be perfect for her to awaken. But looking at the girl, nothing had happened yet. She's looking all sad, saying it's awful how those victims had to suffer like that until death. At the very least, what she could do now was help them finally rest in peace. He praises her, saying she finally seems to have found a bit of resolve. But her eye was starting to turn red, and she says she's strangely feeling the urge to keep fighting. The guy plays it cool, saying it's nothing, just keep walking. But obviously, he knows that's a sign her awakening is starting. Elsewhere in the cave, she says she's freezing, wondering why the temperature dropped all of a sudden. He tells her to be careful, and after a bit, they reach a new entrance. Inside the warehouse, there was a radio playing a message that said, in the house, there were 3 bears, Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear. They both stop to look around, and she's confused by this weird children's story. Suddenly, the messages start getting distorted. Just repeating the word bear, both of them cover their ears trying to figure out what's going on. In the middle of this distraction, a block of ice comes flying and hits our boy in the back. It almost hits her, but Giga Chad blocked it. Just as he expected, it was an ambush. And the boss of the area appears, named Conjoined Phantoms. Obviously, it was the merged form of everyone buried in the cement there, a level 3 mutant. He says they're gonna have to leave because this wasn't something she could handle. She's a bit hesitant, and before she can do anything, the boss is already attacking. He blocks the bastard, telling him to quit throwing frozen lollipops. But when he looks ahead, the creature's already charging up a Kamehameha. And man, the ice blast comes in like a giant pillar straight to his chest. And guess what? For the 100th time in this story, he's slammed into a wall. Even worse, the ice is starting to freeze him in place. Our boy tells her to run, that he'll stay behind and die for her. But she's already all emotional, crying, saying she can't leave him like this. That's when he suddenly calls out to her and reveals he's sure she has power because she has the talent of the Skybreaker. She's all unsure, saying something like that is impossible. But he just smiles, telling her she just needs to trust in herself a little. If she believed she could, her talent would awaken. That was the end of the lessons he could give her. Another wave of attacks from the boss comes flying at the two of them. But instead of doing anything, man, she's standing there with her eyes shut, wondering how the hell she's going to survive this. Stalactites of ice start crashing down all over the cave, and when you look ahead, she had turned into a literal ice block. But even while completely frozen, she tells him not to worry. Her eyes glowing red, and a golden aura starts to appear. She says she's going to trust herself and trust him. Health man, she's all golden awakening, telling him not to give up. Our sneaky guy celebrates, of course, the SSR was being born. The entire block of ice shatters and her awakening had begun. At that moment, Backsoaring had advanced to a level 1 superhuman. Looking at her hand, she asks what kind of weird power this is. She's excited that she awakened, but there's an attack coming straight for her back. Luckily, our boy charges in and blocks it just in time. Odd, you sly devil, she's confused, right? He was basically dying a moment ago and now he's fine. And he says that now that she's awakened, he doesn't need to keep faking. Obviously, right? Bell didn't really think that the guy who defeated a level 4 was actually getting beat up by a level 3 boss. He explains that he did all that because she needed to be in an extreme situation to awaken. She's still a bit lost, asking if he really risked his life like that just for her. He tells her not to worry too much, because now it's time